passion, fake marriage. Cheng Nuo and Du Ju had been childhood sweethearts so close that people joked they practically wore the same pair of pants as kids. One day, Du Ju stormed over to Cheng Nuo's house in a fit of rage and pounded on the door. "Open up! My girlfriend cheated on me." Cheng Nuo, still half asleep with messy hair, squinted at him. "She cheated, so why are you yelling at me?" "Because the guy she cheated with is your current boyfriend." Cheng Nuo processed this for a long moment before it finally clicked. "Then shouldn't you be dragging him over and giving him a good beating? One for you, one for me." Instead, Du Ju grabbed her collar. "I've thought about it. Since we're both victims here, why don't we just get together?" And so, as an act of revenge, Du Ju came up with a ruthless idea and dragged Cheng Nuo into a fake marriage. To the parents of both the Cheng and Du families, this was the best news they could ask for. On their wedding night, Cheng Nuo stared at the single, large red bed in the bridal chamber. "All right, how are we sleeping? Let us get this straight, I'm not sleeping on the couch, and I'm definitely not sleeping on the floor." But Du Ju had already grabbed the bedpost. "What are you waiting for? Shake the bed. Shake. Do you think you're in the disguiser or something? Sure. Keep it down. My mom's probably eavesdropping at the door with her superhuman hearing." 10 days later, Cheng Nuo was exhausted. Du Ju feigned concern. "Why so lifeless? You hitting menopause early?" Cheng Nuo drooped her head. "My arms are sore. From now on, you handle all the bed-shaking duties." Du Ju smirked devilishly. "Or why don't we drop the act and go for the real thing? Marriage first, love later." Chapter 1, Second Puberty. It was a rare weekend morning, and Cheng Nuo was still deep in sleep when a thunderous knocking on her door jolted her awake. She groggily pulled the blanket over her head, trying to muffle the noise, but the relentless knocker had no intention of giving up, pounding the door as if they were trying to tear it off its hinges, completely hysterical. Just as the knocking ceased for a brief moment, a voice she dreaded rang out. "Cheng Nuo! Open up! I know you're in there. 3 seconds, or I'm breaking in." In Cheng Nuo's life, there were only two people who dared to yell at her like this: her parents and Du Ju. Ignoring Du Ju's shouting was never an option. The consequence of doing so would be a disaster of epic proportions, dragging both of their families into the chaos. Still half asleep, Cheng Nuo rolled out of bed without bothering to wash up or change out of her pajamas. She slipped into her slippers and shuffled toward the door with slow, dragging steps. Outside, Du Ju continued his yelling, unfazed by the possibility of enraging the neighbors. "You heartless woman! Your big bro just got dumped. Get out here! My girlfriend cheated on me." The moment his words fell, Cheng Nuo, hair messy and face drowsy, cracked the door open just a few inches. She yawned carelessly and peered through the gap. "She cheated on you, so why are you making a fuss at my place?" "Because the guy she cheated with is your boyfriend." "Boyfriend?" Cheng Nuo, still in a daze, had only one thought: since when do I have a boyfriend? It took her a good few seconds to recall. Oh, right. 5 days ago, she had indeed gotten into her first ever relationship. And if she had to compare, her boyfriend's debut was just 1 day later than Du Ju's 8th girlfriend. That day, to celebrate Cheng Nuo finally stepping into the world of romance, the entire Cheng family had raised their glasses in joy. She had been so tipsy that night that she couldn't help but reminisce. She was good looking, had a great personality, and yet, she only managed to get her first boyfriend at the age of 25. And the reason? Du Ju. She and Du Ju were childhood friends, so close that people often joked they had once shared the same pair of pants. The origin of this absurd claim dated back to kindergarten, when one fateful naptime, little Du Ju wet his pants. Out of the entire class, only Cheng Nuo had been willing to lend him the spare pants from her backpack. And just that one unfortunate incident had been etched into the memories of both families, repeatedly mentioned for over 20 years. Whenever someone brought it up, the Chengs and Dus would proudly declare, "Our families are close." The kids even shared a pair of pants. To Cheng Nuo, this wasn't something worth bragging about. For Du Ju, it was downright humiliating. And so, he held a grudge for 20 years, particularly when it came to Cheng Nuo's love life. Before college, every time a pure-hearted boy showed interest in her, Du Ju would tattle to her parents before anything could develop. The Chengs, devoted to the cause of no romance before graduation, swiftly squashed any budding love story. Even after entering university, Cheng Nuo thought she had finally earned her freedom. But somehow, Du Ju had brainwashed her parents into appointing him as the gatekeeper of her love life. He scrutinized every candidate. One had a bad family background, another had flirtatious eyes, a different hometown was an automatic disqualification, a dating history was a red flag, and once, he even rejected someone just because their surname was too rare. Meanwhile, Du Ju himself had been dating non-stop since he was 14, practically one girlfriend per year. So, after they had both worked for a year, Cheng Nuo saw her chance. While Du Ju was deeply infatuated with his eighth girlfriend, she made a snap decision and accepted a confession from a handsome colleague. Surprisingly, when she introduced the guy to Du Ju, he didn't nitpick. Instead, he simply gave her a long, unreadable stare before reluctantly approving the relationship. And now, as the saying goes, impulse is the devil. Cheng Nuo was paying the price for her moment of recklessness. You're telling me the guy your girlfriend cheated with is my boyfriend? That's right. Du Ju gritted his teeth as he spoke, though there was an unmistakable glint of schadenfreude in his eyes. After all, breakups were routine for him. But for Cheng Nuo, this was historic. Her first ever boyfriend at the age of 25, and he had cheated on her in just 5 days. That was downright embarrassing. Still not fully awake, Cheng Nuo frowned. How is this even possible? 100% true. Du Ju raised an eyebrow. Now, can I come in? We need to talk about the details. Cheng Nuo made a noise of acknowledgement and took half a step back, then suddenly remembered she wasn't wearing a bra. She immediately stepped forward again, blocking the entrance. Nope. Say what you need to say right here. If your girlfriend and my boyfriend cheated, you should be dragging him out and beating him up, once for you, once for me. That's it. I'm going back to sleep now. Sayonara. She moved to close the door, but Du Ju was faster, wedging his foot in the gap. In the next second, Cheng Nuo barely had time to react before Du Ju grabbed the collar of her silk pajama top, pushed the door open, and slipped inside. After shutting the door behind him, he still hadn't let go of that tiny scrap of silk. Cheng Nuo winced. Easy, I just bought this yesterday. It's silk, you know. Delicate. Du Ju, unimpressed, twisted the fabric between his fingers. Sayonara, my ass. I've thought about it since we're both victims here, why don't we just date each other? His words sounded utterly absurd to Cheng Nuo, like something out of a fairy tale. She had never, not even once, imagined that there could be anything romantic between them. Carefully, she pried Du Ju's long fingers off her silk pajama top, one by one. Let us talk this out rationally, okay? No need for physical violence. She smoothed out the wrinkles in her pajamas, grimacing at the damage. This brute was practically yanking out the silk threads. Du Ju, watching her fuss over the pajama, scoffed. Seriously, Cheng Nuo? I just got dumped, and all you care about is your sleepwear. Without looking up, Cheng Nuo replied, it's not like this is your first breakup. You? Du Ju nearly exploded. I swear, if you keep ignoring me and obsessing over that damn pajama, I'll rip it off you right now. Then, as if struck by inspiration, he suddenly grinned devilishly. Hey, Nuo, you're not wearing a bra under this, are you? Chapter 2, plus a house. Cheng Nuo abruptly lifted her gaze, her face full of vigilance. Do cut the rogue act. Oh, come on, no need to be so distant. It's not like I haven't seen your body before. Du Ju's words grew increasingly outrageous, and his grin became even more obnoxious. He rubbed his hands together and took slow, deliberate steps toward Cheng Nuo, forcing her against the wall. Then, with obvious mischief, his eyes deliberately drifted down to her chest. Clicking his tongue twice, he teased, haven't been paying attention for a while, are you going through a second puberty? Hearing this, Cheng Nuo threw a punch without hesitation, landing it directly on Du Ju's stomach. Du Ju could have dodged it. But after more than 20 years of knowing each other, certain habits had become ingrained. Just like every time before, Du Ju let his well-defined four-pack abs take their hit. Then, with a face full of exaggerated pain, he stretched out his long arm and draped it over Cheng Nuo's shoulder. Come on, help me out here. I think you just punched a hole through my intestines. Cheng Nuo didn't dodge. She was already used to Du Ju's casual touches. As she discreetly rubbed her aching knuckles, she thought, sure, force is mutual, but how painful could it really be? With Duju's arm guiding her, they both sat down on the sofa. She lowered her gaze and saw that Duju still wore a pitiful expression. Unable to hold back, she rolled her eyes. All right, drop the act. Spill it, what's going on with your girlfriend? Duju instantly perked up. Sitting upright, he slapped his thigh with righteous indignation. Let me tell you, I feel completely played. Your boyfriend, Zhang Yi, is my searching SX. Last night, after dropping searching off, I remembered I'd left something in her bag. So, I turned back to get it, and guess what? Right downstairs at her place, I saw her and your Zhang Yi all lovey-dovey. How lovey-dovey? Cheng Nuo wondered, was it just A, or maybe B or even C? Otherwise, why would Duju be this furious? He had never been this worked up over a breakup before. Duju raised an eyebrow. Oh? Curious? Cheng Nuo nodded, even flashing a conciliatory smile. Duju grabbed her shoulders. Really curious? Cheng Nuo instinctively swallowed and forced a laugh. A little bit. Suddenly, Duju grinned wickedly. If you're so curious, how about I show you? Show. Seeing Duju's face inching closer, Cheng Nuo smacked it away. Duju. If you ever get dumped again, don't even think about coming to me. Duju chuckled, shifting away but taking the opportunity to pinch Cheng Nuo's cheeks, stretching them in both directions without the slightest bit of mercy. So stingy. No wonder you're still single at your age. And the one time you finally get a boyfriend, he dumps you in just a few days. TSK, TSK. Watching Duju gloat, Cheng Nuo couldn't take it anymore. She swatted his hand away. Enough, Duju. I get it now. You didn't come here to vent, you came to laugh at me. But just so you know, I haven't been dumped yet. Thanks for the heads up, though. I'll break up with Zhang Yi immediately. And for the record, I'll be the one dumping him, not the other way around. With that, Cheng Nuo stormed into her bedroom, grabbed her phone from the nightstand, and furiously typed out a message. But just before hitting send, she hesitated. I can't just take Duju's word for it. Should I at least give Zhang Yi a chance to explain? What's wrong? Can't bear to do it. Duju's teasing voice rang in her ears, his warm breath brushing against her eardrum. A shiver ran down her spine. She turned her head, eyeing him warily. In an instant, her rationality returned. That was close, I almost fell for his trap again. Thinking back on the past 20 years, and how Duju had always been the biggest obstacle in her love life, Cheng Nuo reined in her anger toward Zhang Yi and deleted the message letter by letter. With a snort, she smirked, nice try, but I won't fall for it, Duju. Duju blinked innocently. What? I'm telling the truth, your man really cheated with my girl. Yeah, keep talking. Cheng Nuo, with your IQ, no wonder you can't get a boyfriend. Well, no matter how much you insult me, I'm not going to just take your word for it. Duju ran a hand through his hair and then pulled out his phone. With a few quick taps, he handed it over. Here, see for yourself. That guy in the video, isn't he that Zhang Yi? And the girl he is holding, isn't he that Searching? Look at them, making out like there's no tomorrow. Can you really tolerate this? Cheng Nuo's eyes widened in disbelief. You actually recorded this? What do you mean recorded? This is evidence. Duju quickly retracted his phone, flicking his short bangs smugly. Now do you believe me? Tell me, aren't these two shameless? They dare betray both of us at the same time. Nuo, we can't let this slide, we must make them pay. Initially, Cheng Nuo hadn't felt much. But faced with undeniable proof, she suddenly found her situation pitiful. She was bad looking, had a good job, was well liked, and was at a prime age for marriage. And yet, why couldn't she find a decent relationship? At the end of the day, it was all because of this man. You're right, they are unforgivable. And I bet it was your 8th girlfriend who seduced Zhang Yi first. Cheng Nuo gritted her teeth. Duju, you've always been ruining my relationships, and now even your women are getting in on it. I don't care, you owe me a decent boyfriend this time. Duju, as if expecting this, straightened his collar. Didn't I just say? If we get together, that counts as me making it up to you. You? What? You'd ruin my future. Duju slung his arm around her shoulder again. Don't be so cold. Since you won't find someone suitable anytime soon, why not settle for me for now? And more importantly, we get to take revenge on those two cheaters. Cheng Nuo suddenly realized, so this was your real motive. She should be known. After being friends for over 20 years, if there were any sparks between them, they would be ignited long ago. Du Ju snapped his fingers. Exactly. They fooled around behind our backs, so let us go even bigger. We should get married and drive them crazy. Cheng Nuo forced a laugh. Sometimes, she really couldn't understand how Du Ju's mind worked. Du Ju, you're unbelievable. Just for the sake of revenge, you're willing to gamble with my lifelong happiness. Du Ju patted her head with a devious smile. Relax. The marriage would be fake. Chapter 3 Silicone Belly. Fake? It's fake. When those two regret it so much that their intestines turn green, I will clear your name. Cheng Nuo rolled her eyes. She was already married, so how could she still maintain her innocence? Since it's a fake marriage, there's no need to hold a banquet. Of course we have to do it. At least we can deceive my parents and your parents. You don't need to get a marriage certificate. Of course I have to. We have to fool our parents. What about life after marriage? Du Ju raised a finger and interrupted Cheng Nuo's words. We must stay in the same room. Cheng Nuo, you won't be shy about this in front of me, right? Cheng Nuo was speechless. If nothing was left out, could it still be called a fake marriage? In fact, she didn't have much hatred towards Zhang Yi, so there was no need for her to sacrifice herself for revenge. If Du Ju found a new love in the future and they broke up, she would end up getting married for the second time. Thinking of this, Cheng Nuo waved his hand and said, I have no benefit at all from this matter, so let's not talk about it. Du Ju stopped her, stretched out his 2 claws, and swung his 10 slender fingers. No, I've been holding my anger in for a long time. I've never been humiliated like this in my life. If you do me a favor, I'll give you 100,000 yuan as a dowry when you really get married in the future. 100,000. Cheng Nuo hesitated. Du Ju kicked his leg again, plus an apartment. Finally, Cheng Nuo smiled and clapped his hands on Du Ju's paws. Deal. In fact, Cheng Nuo's idea is very simple. She thought, even if she became a second marriage in the near future, she would be a childless person with a house. And with the 100,000 yuan that Du Ju was going to cash out, she could add some money to buy a nice private car. So, as a young woman with no children, a car and a house, what should she be afraid of not finding a partner? Therefore, Cheng Nuo felt relieved and followed Du Ju to have a fight. If Du Ju knew what she was thinking, he would definitely be sweating. How come such a naive child, working alone in a public institution, hasn't been seduced? In fact, human development and future are really amazing. When he was in school, Cheng Nuo was recognized as an excellent student, a good boy, and a favorite of all teachers, while Du Ju was fighting, skipping classes. There was nothing he had not done that gave the teachers a headache. But after graduating from university, Cheng Nuo was admitted to a research institute, a public institution, which was stable, but the income was limited and there was no big benefits to be gained. After Du Ju was admitted to the medical university, he seemed like a different person. Now, at a young age, he is the best psychiatric surgeon in the city hospital. The surgical operations he has performed have a 100% success rate. He is bold yet careful. Of course, all these also provide convenience for his numerous romantic relationships. The so-called 8th girlfriend, Pan Qingqing, was a young nurse in the department of psychiatric surgery of the municipal hospital. However, now that Cheng Nuo has agreed to the fake marriage, Pan Qingqing has become a thing of the past and is not worth mentioning. Seeing Cheng Nuo busy, Du Ju withdrew his thoughts and approached curiously. Why are you holding paper and pen? You are not working overtime or drawing designs at home, are you? Cheng Nuo gave him a cold look and said, why are you so old-fashioned? For a fake marriage, of course we need to have an agreement. Du Ju was choked. Agreement? He really didn't know who the old-fashioned one was. That's right, an agreement. If we really live under the same roof from now on, who knows if you will do anything? Cheng Nuo looked Du Ju up and down, as if he was meeting him for the first time. After looking him up enough, he shook his head and said, no matter how I think about it, I feel that you are unreliable. Come on, let's set 3 rules. Also, I just thought that we can do the wedding as you said. But can we put the marriage certificate on hold for now? Anyway, for your parents and my parents, the most important thing is the form. Without the constraint of a marriage certificate, Cheng Nuo can look forward to his future life a little more. Du Ju didn't respond, neither saying yes nor no. He sat down at the desk, snatched the pen from Cheng Nuo's hand, and twirled it flexibly between his fingers. Go ahead, the first one. Don't you want to set 3 rules? Oh. Cheng Nuo hurriedly sat down opposite him. First rule, don't touch me. Du Ju tilted his head and smirked. What do you mean by touching me? Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth and said, anything you have done with your girlfriend is called touching her. Chatting and eating together, does that count? Cheng Nuo slammed the table and said, don't play dumb with me. You know what I mean. Du Ju raised his eyebrows, curved the corners of his mouth, and wrote down the first item of this so-called fake marriage on the paper with a look of resignation. Second one. Second, hold the wedding first, then get the marriage certificate. If we don't get the marriage certificate by the time the adulterers regret their actions to the point of being heartbroken, that would be the best way. We can have a peaceful and burden-free divorce and regain our freedom. Du Ju raised his eyes thoughtfully, looked at Cheng Nuo with an unfathomable look, then shrugged his shoulders and wrote on the paper. I can do as you say, but there is a prerequisite. If both parents insist, then we must get the marriage certificate. Cheng Nuo bit his lower lip, thought for a moment, and added, okay, but there is a prerequisite. You and I are not allowed to take the initiative to bring up the matter of getting a marriage certificate. Even if our parents ask us to, we must refuse as much as possible. Du Ju raised his eyelids and wrote without hesitation, no problem. The third one. The third rule is that after marriage, you are not allowed to interfere with your partner's social life, and if possible, you should try your best to help your partner find his or her destined partner. After saying this, Cheng Nuo looked at Du Ju provocatively as he slowly put down his pen. Before Du Ju spoke, he grinned smugly and said, of course, I know that you, Master Du, don't need any help from me. This is the responsibility you should bear for your girlfriend stealing my boyfriend away. Du Ju pinched his nose helplessly. Well, you look quite pitiful, I'll give you a hand. Cheng Nuo watched Du Ju write this down, then smiled with satisfaction. The fourth one. Stop. Du Ju gestured. Aren't there 3 rules? Why is there a 4th one? Cheng Nuo rolled his eyes. You're so stupid, this is only the 4th item in the first chapter. Du Ju was petrified. Go on, hurry up, there's still a lot to say. Article 4. Cheng Nuo. You are teasing me, aren't you? Cheng Nuo blinked. How about we start from Chapter 2? Chapter 2, Article 1. Chapter 4, The Lingering Love. Du Ju put down his pen and said, girl, don't push your luck. Cheng Nuo grabbed the paper and pen. Look at what you said. We grew up together. Am I that kind of person? There are many things to pay attention to in this fake marriage. First of all, you have to write down the 100,000 plus a house you promised. Miss Cheng wrote down benefits without blinking, and continued writing without taking a break. Besides this, we have to decide on a time limit for our fake marriage. We can't just keep doing it forever. What if Zhang Yi and your Xiao Qing regret it so much that they turn green with anger? Am I going to waste my whole life with you? If time goes on for a long time, let alone other things, what if your mother gets worried about my pregnancy? At this point, Du Ju held her hand and said with a fake smile, it's just pregnancy, it's easy to deal with. I'll buy you a silicone belly to stick on your belly for a month or so. It's a fashion. In the future, when you go to get off work and squeeze into the subway, someone will give you a seat. What do you think? Isn't this very considerate of me? Zhuamaimai couldn't hold back any longer after hearing her friend Cheng Nuo's statement. She interrupted Cheng Nuo's grief and anger and asked, can you tell me the point? At the end of that day, did you agree to his proposal? Cheng Nuo spread his hands. I agree. Life is boring, so it doesn't matter if I play with him. The most important thing is 100,000 yuan plus a house. Even if I work hard for 5 years and draw 100 designs, I may not be able to earn so much. But if I play with him for 2 months, these things can be easily obtained. Zhuamaimai looked at her incredulously. Girl, this is a big deal, aren't you afraid that he will take advantage of you or something? Although Cheng Nuo made a verbal statement about this in the agreement, in fact, Cheng Nuo was quite disdainful of this question. She and Du Ju had been playing together since they were wearing open crotch pants, and had gone through puberty together until now. If Du Ju really had some interest in her, he would have made a move long ago and would not have waited until now. Thinking of this, Cheng Nuo raised his eyelids coldly and said with a smile, "Why are you asking such a question? Mai, tell me the truth, do you still have feelings for Du Ju?" Yes, Cheng Nuo's good friend Zhuo Mai was once one of Du Ju's romantic partners. At the beginning, it was Cheng Nuo who introduced them to each other, but in the end, the young couple broke up after only 2 months. Zhuo Mai rolled her eyes at Cheng Nuo. "What do you think? I still have feelings for him. That kind of man either has a goddess-like untouchable woman hidden deep in his heart, or he is simply interested in men." Cheng Nuo laughed out loud. Thinking back to the end of yesterday's discussion about fake marriage, Du Ju looked so cowardly when he was kicked out. He really has the talent to be a victim. He deserved to be beaten. Cheng Nuo looked at his flat and firm belly. The thought of having a silicone belly stuck to him made him feel cold all over. That guy Du Ju didn't knock out his 2 front teeth, he's lucky. However, because of Cheng Nuo's beating, the two finally decided on a time limit for their fake marriage, 2 months from the start of the official wedding. "Cheng Nuo, is it really you?" Cheng Nuo was laughing so hard when a tall figure suddenly appeared beside her. Zhuo Mai coughed repeatedly as if she was choked by something, while signaling Cheng Nuo with her eyes. The two friends have been together for a long time, and just by looking at Zhuo Mai's eyes, Cheng Nuo knew that an extremely handsome guy had appeared. She raised her head and squinted at the person who came. After one look, she was confused. Who is this? She extended her hand shyly. "Hello, I'm Cheng Nuo, may I ask who you are?" The man restrainedly held a few of her fingers and smiled, so elegant that one could not help but recite a couple of ancient poems. "Gao Ming, do you still remember? Clever? Clever. Gao Ming." Cheng Nuo's eyes widened. It was Gao Ming. Cheng Nuo touched the coffee stain on the corner of his lips and stood up directly this time. "Hello, long time no see." Zhuo Mai looked at Cheng Nuo's useless look, but she could understand him in her heart. Gao Ming. That was Cheng Nuo's first love. However, before he could confess his love to her, his love was strangled in the bud by Du Ju. If you count it up, it has been 10 years. Cheng Nuo was still upset, but he knew to kick Zhuo Mai to make the woman give up her seat. "Gao Ming, it's really you. You are also developing in City B? Sit down, sit down." When he was a student, Cheng Nuo was a famous 3-good student, good at study, good-looking, and good-natured. As such a 3-good student, it is natural that there is no shortage of male classmates who have a crush on her. Those who are honest but have poor grades mostly think they are out of reach and can only suppress their secret love. The shameless thugs all knew that Cheng Nuo had a childhood enemy Du Ju, and Du Ju was a big thug among the thugs, and they couldn't afford to offend him, so they could only admire this delicate flower from afar and dared not play with it. Therefore, the only people around Cheng Nuo were those boys who were also 3-good students. In fact, many boys confessed to Cheng Nuo, but the only one she really remembered was the one in front of her. "Didn't your family move to West City during your 2nd year of high school? It's a big city, and all the classmates were envious of you." After seeing each other again after 10 years, Cheng Nuo couldn't deny that he was really excited. Perhaps, it was because he had never experienced true love, so the feelings of first love were particularly deep. Or maybe. Alas, Gao Ming is indeed a handsome guy now. "Yes, I moved my household registration to City S in order to get into a better university. After all, the education there is better. I studied for my undergraduate and master's degrees there. Now that I have graduated, my parents still want me to return to my roots, so we returned to City B." Gao Ming, who is now 25 or 26 years old, has shed his childishness. He used to be taciturn, but now he talks a lot, which only adds a bit of warmth to his temperament. Zhuo Mai was already somewhat fascinated. She had only heard 2 men's names from Cheng Nuo's mouth. One was the hated Du Ju, and the other was Gao Ming, who was only mentioned a few times but was also well known. She thought that if Cheng Nuo was not going to rekindle her relationship with handsome Gao, then she, who was now alone, would have to do it. While Cheng Nuo was excited, she found that she actually had nothing to talk about with Gao Ming, because she knew nothing about what happened after he went to S City. She didn't know which university he attended, what major he studied, or what he was doing now. Perhaps, after meeting today, there will be no possibility of meeting again in the future. Because Cheng Nuo didn't have much impulse to leave the mobile phone number of the person in front of him. Chapter 5 Duju. Cheng Nuo, I never thought that I could meet old classmates here. You know, I just came back to City B the day before yesterday. Really? Hee hee. Cheng Nuo's smile was a little stiff. Zhuomaimai rolled her eyes at Cheng Nuo in frustration, and quickly tried to get useful information for her friend, Gao Ming. My name is Zhuomaimai. I transferred to your high school the year after you left. So we can be considered alumni. Gao Ming extended his hand and shook hands with Zhuomaimai in the same polite manner. Hello. By the way, you said you are going back to City B now. What industry are you working in? Zhuomaimai said this while giving Cheng Nuo a sidelong glance, meaning, little guy, let me take care of you. Only by getting more information about you can you have the possibility of further development. Cheng Nuo was speechless and parroted, yeah, where are you making money now? Gao Ming laughed softly, with a nasal sound in his laughter, which was very pleasant to hear. I'm at the Research Institute on Zhongshan Road. I'll report there tomorrow, Monday. Hearing this, Zhuomaimai nudged Cheng Nuo's arm and said, Nuo, the Research Institute where you work seems to be on Zhongshan Road. Cheng Nuo nodded blankly. As far as she knew, there was only one research institute on that road. The Standardization Research Institute of the Quality and Technical Supervision Bureau of City B is a public institution affiliated to the Quality and Technical Supervision Bureau of City B. And it was to such an institution that Cheng Nuo was admitted with the first place in the civil service exam. Since she was the kind of person who didn't like to flatter and didn't know how to deal with things, she was assigned to the Technical Research Department, where she drew so-called design drawings every day. It was a hard life. In fact, it was just a private job that didn't make money for the research institute. However, the money earned was confiscated and there was no commission to be received. Therefore, no one had the motivation to draw this thing. Because, even if you do too much, your leaders will at best praise you a few words and hypocritically say that your performance will be taken into consideration when calculating the year-end bonus. But in the end, your salary is still the same high, and the bonus still only goes to the leaders. As for a public institution, Cheng Mar said, what you want is a stable job. As for the rest, it's just like that. Gao Ming, is the research institute you are going to call the Quality Standards Institute. Quality Standards Institute is the abbreviation that has long been commonly used by colleagues in the institute. Gao Ming nodded. Zhuomaimai's words were heard by him. You too. Cheng Nuo smiled shyly. I've been working there for 3 years. Oh, what is this? Is this fate? Actually, Gao Ming is a really good guy, and they will be colleagues in the future. With such close proximity, she and Zhang Yi can hook up. Is it impossible for her to have a crush on Gao Ming, her first love? Cheng Nuo was getting a little impatient. Just as she was secretly complaining, Zhuomaimai had already helped her friend get closer. Congratulations to you too, you are actually colleagues. Hey, Gao Ming, you have only been in City B for 2 days, so when will your girlfriend come here? I don't have a girlfriend yet. Gao Ming smiled, his eyes vaguely passing over Cheng Nuo's face. Zhuomaimai caught Gao Ming's move with her sharp eyes and pinched Cheng Nuo's thigh unexpectedly. Cheng Nuo took a breath and glanced at her coldly. That woman Zhuomaimai was too unsure of her timing. Gao Ming noticed something was wrong and asked with concern, what's wrong with you? Cheng Nuo laughed dryly, no, it's okay. By the way, which department are you going to? Before Gao Ming could answer, Cheng Nuo's phone rang at the right time. Cheng Nuo smiled apologetically at Gao Ming twice, then took out his cell phone. When he took a look at it, the flame of love that had just been burning in his heart was instantly extinguished without even a spark. It's that guy Duju. Damn it, she was so immersed in her yearning for future love that how could she forget that she had already agreed on a fake marriage with that guy Duju? Duju, that man, was born to create obstacles on her road to happiness. Cheng Nuo was annoyed. He was guarding Gao Ming's face, but he couldn't show his true face. He could only turn his back and lower his voice, hey, what are you doing? Then Duju's rogue voice came lazily, no, where have you been today? I have asked a professional lawyer to appraise my agreement and I am waiting for your signature. Bar. Appraisal? Cheng Nuo got angry when she thought of the fake marriage agreement. I want to break up the marriage and not marry you anymore. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, but Du Ju's tone remained the same. What's the matter? Girl, have you suddenly found someone new? Cheng Nuo's heart skipped a beat, thinking that Du Ju had been with her for so long that he was like a worm in her stomach. I guess so. Anyway, for the sake of my love, I won't play the revenge game with you anymore. Girl, have you thought it through? The original agreement that you signed and sealed is in my hands. If you break the contract, you will lose the 100,000 and the house. Have you really thought it through? Du Ju persuaded her earnestly. Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth. It was a difficult decision. Just as he was struggling, Du Ju suddenly asked, "Where are you now?" "Outside, shopping." "Oh," Du Ju said in a long tone, "are you alone?" "And Zwamaimai, your ex-girlfriend?" "Well, no one else. No more." He he. Du Ju laughed sinisterly, making Cheng Nuo's back shiver. "Let's talk about the agreement tonight. I'm hanging up now." The other party did not respond. Cheng Nuo glared at the phone and put it back to his ear. "Hey, if you don't say anything, I'll assume you heard it. Hang up." As if afraid of regretting his decision, Cheng Nuo hung up the phone in a hurry, took a long breath, turned around, faced Jiao Ming, and smiled again. "Where were we just talking about?" Which department, right?" No. Zwamaimai tugged at Cheng Nuo's sleeve. "What?" Cheng Nuo pulled his friend's claws away, but found that his friend's eyes and face looked strange, as if he had seen a ghost. She followed her friend's line of sight, and the moment she saw her target, she was almost shaken off her chair, and subconsciously, her breath got stuck in her throat. Ahem. She cleared her throat, and the target was already walking towards her, holding a black cell phone in his hand. In front of everyone, he placed his big hand on her shoulder, and his 5 fingers, like the 9 yin white bone claws, dug into her shoulder flesh. "Hey, Nuo, what a coincidence, you're shopping here?" "Hey, this handsome guy, looks very friendly, who is he?" "Nuo, why don't you introduce him to me?" Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth, wishing he could bite off every one of Du Ju's fingers with his teeth. This plagued God. "Hey, Nuo, that's not nice of you. Can you introduce me to someone new?" Du Ju urged, while at the same time, the 9 yin white bone claw dug hard into Cheng Nuo's flesh. Chapter 6, The White-Faced Scholar. Cheng Nuo stared at him. Before he could speak, Jiao Ming narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "You are Du Ju, right?" "I am Jiao Ming." Cheng Nuo was surprised. Jiao Ming, as his name suggests, was really smart. Look at his memory, it was absolutely amazing. She remembered that when she was in the same class with Jiao Ming, Du Ju was not in the same class with her. At that time, she and Jiao Ming were both top students, in the top class. Du Ju, the half-assed one, had always been in the worst class in his first year of high school, but it was only in his second year of high school that his grades jumped 3 levels, shocking everyone, and he finally jumped to Cheng Nuo's class. However, when Du Ju jumped to the same class as Cheng Nuo, Jiao Ming had already transferred to another school, and was replaced by Zwamaimai at the same time. These are all old stories, Cheng Nuo thought. The fact that Jiao Ming was so impressed by Du Ju could only mean that Du Ju's past misdeeds were truly abominable to both humans and gods. Du Ju finally withdrew his steel claws from Cheng Nuo's shoulders, and instead slapped Jiao Ming on the body. It was so loud that Cheng Nuo even saw Jiao Ming stagger. "Dude, do you know me?" Jiao Ming snorted barely audibly, but the smile on his face remained. "We've only met a few times." "Really? When did it happen?" Du Dezhong muttered to himself that this man was most likely the man who almost had an affair with Cheng Nuo. However, he had beaten, shouted him down, and used dirty tricks on too many men like this before. To him, these guys had only one face: shameless, boring, and ignorant. As for the specific physical features, he could not remember them at all. Du Ju rolled his black eyes, but still couldn't remember who this person was. Jiao Ming explained perfunctorily, "I'm Nuo's classmate in high school." Unexpectedly, this sentence made Du Ju immediately remember the origin of their gentle nobleman in front of him. Although he could not remember anyone's appearance and name, he could remember clearly what happened on what year and what day. "It turns out that Jiao Ming was the kid who was angered by me for 10 days in a row when I was in the first year of high school. It seems that the threats and punishments at that time did not make this guy learn his lesson. 10 years later, he is here again, and what? No. Du flicked his little finger, his eyebrows jumped, and he grinned. Oh, it's you, great talent. Gao Ming is indeed talented. At least, that was the case in the eyes of the teachers and girls of the same grade at that time. In junior high school, Cheng Nuo was always the top student in the grade. When he was promoted to the first year of high school, he was divided into arts and science. Facing many outstanding boys in science, Cheng Nuo was not afraid, but he only ranked second. Because the throne of first place belongs to Gao Ming. Not only that, rumor has it that Gao Ming is an exceptionally good painter, especially female models. Later, after Gao Ming transferred to another school, Cheng Nuo naturally became the first. The title of great talent was still frequently mentioned until my senior year of high school. For Gao Ming, such a title actually means nothing to him. However, now that these three words came out of Duju's mouth, they carried an irony that could not be ignored. Gao Ming had always understood that the feud between him and Duju in his first year of high school was all because of Cheng Nuo. He likes Cheng Nuo, she is his first love and the first girl of the opposite sex he was interested in during his school days. Before Cheng Nuo, he had even painted nude paintings of other beautiful girls. Although they were not naked, they were wearing cool clothes and posed in shy postures. But when he saw Cheng Nuo, he changed his admiring gaze as a creator and wanted to make a girl belong to him for the first time. For this reason, he followed her quietly after school every day and found that she was always alone, walking home in leisurely steps. And he had a bicycle that was quite cool at the time. So, one day, he mustered up the courage to ride over and stopped beside her with purpose. Cheng Nuo. At that time, Cheng Nuo looked at him for a long time before smiling and saying, "Hello, Gao Ming." Soon, Gao Ming figured it out. Cheng Nuo's not-so-short pause was simply for him to remember his name. It was a very frustrating realization, but it also gave him some courage. "You're walking home." "Yes, because it's not far. It will only take about 10 minutes to get there." Gao Ming narrowed his eyes and looked ahead. "Where do you live? If it's on the way, I'll give you a ride." "R." Cheng Nuo grinned, and that expression definitely did not show flattered. "So," Gao Ming said with a slight displeasure, and without asking for any more opinions, "come up." Well. Just as Cheng Nuo was dawdling and walking around to his bicycle, before he could sit on it, he heard a loud bicycle bell behind him. Gao Ming turned around, and almost at the same time, a bicycle braked suddenly with a squeak and stopped beside him. There was a boy with yellow and green hair, sitting astride a bicycle. He didn't look at him, but instead stared at Cheng Nuo behind him with a half-smile, exuding a chilling hostility. At that time, Gao Ming didn't know that Duju had temporarily snatched a younger brother's bicycle and rushed over. Then the boy who looked like a little ruffian snorted with a smug look on his face, "Yo! Riding on a boy's bicycle, you are in love too early, Cheng Nuo." Premeditated love is absolutely taboo for high school students. Therefore, even though Gao Ming couldn't see Cheng Nuo's expression, he could tell from her tone that she must be angry and humiliated. "Hey, Duju, stop talking nonsense. Seeing is believing. Can you explain to me what you are doing now?" "I'm saying goodbye and hello to my classmates," Cheng Nuo said slowly with a small face, and it was obvious that he had seen this kind of situation more than once or twice. Duju sneered, "Do I need to go behind someone to say hello?" Cheng Nuo rolled his eyes at him and said, "I'm happy. I don't want to bother with you. Gao Ming, let's go." Gao Ming nodded. He was very pleased with the word "we." He turned his head slightly and asked, "Are you seated?" Cheng Nuo was about to climb onto the back seat when Duju suddenly shouted, "Cheng Nuo, how dare you? Hey, can't you see that I'm riding a bike now? We live next door to each other, but you're choosing to go somewhere far away instead of going home with me, and insist on riding this guy's car. Isn't this premeditated love? Think about it, or I'll tell your mom that you're not studying hard at school and are having a premeditated love affair with a little boy." A 15-year-old girl should still be afraid of her parents. So, Cheng Nuo hesitated. Chapter 7. I'll help you break it first. Duju seized the moment of her hesitation and waved his hand proudly. Come, the sea of suffering is endless, it is time to turn back, come here, I will take you back." Cheng Nuo glared at him and said, "Come on, I don't trust your skills. I'll walk back by myself." Then she smiled apologetically at Gao Ming and said, It doesn't matter. Gao Ming knew that there was no chance of turning back. If he asked to go with her now, it would seem that he had some ulterior motive, so he got on his bicycle and said, "I'll give you a ride another day. See you tomorrow." "Well, bye." Cheng Nuo smiled without any nostalgia, which annoyed Gao Ming. He looked deeply at the guy named Du Ju. It was a rare opportunity for him to take the initiative to talk to a girl, but it was ruined like this. What Gao Ming could not have imagined was that he would not have the chance to give Cheng Nuo a ride some other day, because starting from the second day, for nearly 10 days in a row, the exhaust gas from his bicycle was released by someone, and not only that, but a hole was punctured in the tire. By the time he repaired the bicycle, Cheng Nuo had already walked back home. Therefore, this grudge left Gao Ming with a deep memory of Du Ju. Back then, Du Ju was just like a scoundrel who ruined his first love. At this moment, Gao Ming never expected that the same scoundrel would come between him and Cheng Nuo again. When he wanted to rekindle his relationship with his first love, the guy had already taken the lead and used their fake marriage to handcuff the person he loved. When enemies meet, it is inevitable that they will be jealous of each other. Gao Ming untied Du Ju's hand and said in a more serious tone, "My name is Gao Ming. I know, I remember who you are, you great talent." Du Ju smiled sincerely. Gao Ming found that he was talking to a deaf ear, and the joy of seeing Cheng Nuo was now completely dispersed by Du Ju. He stood up gracefully and smiled at Cheng Nuo. "I have something else to do. I'll leave first. See you tomorrow, Nuo Nuo." "It's no again." Cheng Nuo laughed dryly. To be honest, the word Nuo gave her goosebumps. "Okay, see you at work tomorrow." Du Ju's brows jumped, but he grasped a key word. As soon as Gao Ming left, he sat down on the seat that Gao Ming had just warmed up. "Cheng Nuo, what did you just say?" "See you at work." "Hey, when did that pale-faced scholar become your colleague?" Cheng Nuo could no longer bear it and rolled his eyes in annoyance. "Please, Mr. Du, can you be more polite? What do you mean by pale-faced scholar? It's so ugly. Is it unpleasant? I didn't call him a pretty boy, that's already polite. It's getting more and more outrageous." Cheng Nuo chose to stand up and pulled Zhumaimai with him. "Let's go, the air here is already polluted." Zhumaimai stood up hurriedly and put her hands together. "Amitabha, you two great gods finally remembered that there is a mortal like me." Seeing Cheng Nuo was about to leave, Du Ju stretched out his arm and grabbed the hem of Cheng Nuo's skirt with his claws. "Wait a minute, we haven't talked about business yet. Come on, sign this agreement first, then you can leave." Cheng Nuo untied her skirt. "Can you please stop touching me? You are old and don't know what shame is." "Oh, what agreement? You're just trying to make trouble, aren't you? What I just said to you on the phone, you didn't take it to heart at all." Du Ju took out a stack of documents from his bag and threw them on the coffee table in front of him. "I see, you value women over friends. You're distracted by a gigolo by your side, and you dare to ignore my words. Come here and sign for me." The pile of documents that Du Ju took out was naturally the so-called fake marriage agreement that had been authenticated by a lawyer. Zhumaimai was very curious and couldn't help but move closer. Just as she could see the two largest titles, agreement, Du Ju slapped his big hand on the document. "TSK, so stingy." Du Ju stood up and said, "I am just stingy. Well, Nuo Nuo and I have some business to attend to. You can go wherever you want to go. Come on, I will get you a taxi." Du Ju put his arm around Zhumaimai's shoulders and forcibly led her out of the coffee shop. Halfway through the journey, he turned back and glared at Cheng Nuo. "Behave yourself and sign quickly. Don't try to play tricks. I have plenty of backups." Cheng Nuo twisted his lips. "TSK." Besides, Zhumaimai was clamped by Du Ju on the shoulders, and she couldn't break free no matter how hard she twisted left and right, and she didn't even have the chance to say goodbye to Cheng Nuo. Cheng Nuo looked at the two people who were entangled and leaving, with a smile on his face as if he was watching a good show. Du Ju has a skill, that is, he can become good friends with almost any ex-girlfriend. In fact, when it comes down to it, it is not known whether he is too affectionate or too heartless. The two people who were once in love now get along as friends, and there is really no impurities in their relationship. This is something Cheng Nuo cannot understand. For her, if she loves, she loves. If she doesn't love, it's best to draw a clear line between them from now on. The smile on the corner of her mouth seemed to be frozen. Cheng Nuo silently watched the two people still struggling, until their figures disappeared at the door of the coffee shop. She slowly retracted the smile, her expression was so deep that she didn't even realize it. 2 minutes later, Du Ju came back. He rubbed his hands together, as if he had gotten rid of a big problem. Finally, I got her into the car. This is a matter between these two people. If a third mouth is added, there will be no end to it. Hey, why haven't you signed yet? Cheng Nuo raised his eyes and smiled innocently. No pen. Damn, why didn't you tell me earlier? Are you kidding me? Du Ju took out another pen from his briefcase and threw it over. Sign quickly, don't waste time. Do you see my handsome signature? Sign it below my name. Cheng Nuo held the pen and the tip of the pen dropped a black dot on the white paper of the agreement, but did not continue to write a complete word. Du Ju, do you really want to have a fake marriage with me? Du Ju crossed his arms, leaned back in his chair, tilted his head and looked at Cheng Nuo with a smile. Girl, don't think I don't know what you think. You like Gao Ming, that pretty face, right? Cheng Nuo lowered her eyes and gave a self-deprecating smile. When she looked up again, she had put on the expression of a female tyrant. What are you doing? Elegant gentleman, a lady is a good match for you. Du Ju waved his hands with a look of disdain. Okay, just say she's lustful. Nuo, I won't play tricks with you, let's analyze this account carefully. I really can't swallow this breath. I will take revenge in this life, you understand, right? Besides, this time it was Xiaoqing, that woman, who took the initiative to pursue me, probably because I'm handsome and promising, and want to have a golden rice bowl or something. When has my brother been deceived by someone like this before, right? So I must make her regret it. As for your Zhang Yi, let's take the opportunity to fight him back, it's icing on the cake. This is the benefit for me, and for you. The money and the house that I mentioned will definitely be fulfilled. The only loss may be that a talented man suddenly appeared now. You are tempted, and you are afraid that you will miss this opportunity, right? Chapter 8. I'll give you a gift. Cheng Nuo turned his face away with a smile, but the smile did not appear in his eyes. Go on, go on. Du Ju leaned forward and looked into Cheng Nuo's eyes. Nuo, isn't there a clause in our agreement that I have the obligation to help you find your significant other? So, don't worry. 2 months later, after I've dealt with that adulterer, I'll personally send you to Gao Ming and explain to him that after we get married, we'll be completely innocent. By the way, you should stay a virgin, don't let me shoot myself in the foot. Cheng Nuo swung the pen in his hand and threw it over. Du Ju, you hooligan. Du Ju smirked. Actually, the answer to this question in his heart was yes. Cheng Nuo was cheated on in less than 10 days in her only love affair. Moreover, during those few days, he, a gossipy man, asked her about the progress almost every day. Did they hold hands? Hug? Kiss? In short, everything is under control. Asking this question now is totally unnecessary. Looking at his current expression, he is extremely arrogant. So, is this true? Not finished yet. Yes, it is. It is not shameful to be an old spinster. You still say. Okay, I won't tell you. Actually, even if it's not true, it doesn't matter. Gao Balian doesn't know if you've been in a relationship before, right? Du Ju. Don't yell. It doesn't matter whether it is or not. I might as well take advantage of you. Otherwise, I'll help you break it first. Cheng Nuo slammed the table and stood up. I won't sign it. Hearing this, Du Ju quickly smiled and walked forward to grab her hand and shook it. Brother was wrong, hurry up and sign. Brother will never be an obstacle between you and Gao Shushin, okay? Every time Du Ju did this, his eyes looked like a stray puppy, so pitiful. Cheng Nuo felt a chill all over his body and was helpless against the look in his eyes. Hey, Du Ju, do you have an Oedipus complex? Let go of me, you're pulling and tugging, it's embarrassing. Du Ju obediently let go of her hand, turned around, picked up the pen that Cheng Nuo had just thrown to her, and stuffed it into her palm. Hurry up, get this done first. There will be a lot of things to do later. Don't think I have nothing to do. Getting married is a big deal. Even if it's fake, you have to do everything, such as reporting to my parents and your parents, printing wedding invitations, and asking for wedding leave. By the way, we are both from the Miao village in K City, so we have to go back to our hometown for the wedding. Your mother should have prepared the wedding dress, headdress, necklace, etc. since you were born. I'll ask her to buy a few pairs of silver bracelets later. Oh, and bridesmaid, do you have someone you like? Cheng Nuo had just signed the word Cheng when he was frightened by Du Ju's sudden call and could not sign the word Nuo at all. Stop, stop. Is it really necessary to go through so much trouble? Why do I feel like I've sold myself out? After thinking about it, she simply put the pen down with a snap and said, No, I don't think this is worth it. I want to increase my remuneration. Du Ju stared at her with his eyes wide open. What? Increase the reward. Auntie, the agreement has been drafted. What else do you want to add? Okay, add it, add it. At worst, we can draft an additional clause. What do you want? Cheng Nuo narrowed his eyes, looking like a profiteer. In addition to 100,000 yuan in cash and a house, I want a car. I don't want a Panda, a QQ or anything like that. I want a Shanghai Volkswagen Beetle, the grass green one. Du Ju was speechless, looking away in despair. After a while, he turned his gaze back. Cheng Nuo, you think I'm a sucker, don't you? The Beetle, that costs more than 300,000 yuan, do you think I'm in real estate? And it's grass green, look at your taste. Cheng Nuo leaned back in his chair leisurely, speaking in a cold tone, as if it had nothing to do with him. You are the one who made such a fuss. You still want to go back to K-City to hold the wedding? Those people in my hometown drink rice wine like water. I can't stand the after effects of rice wine. Besides, if we hold the wedding there, a wedding will last for 13 days, especially the last 2 days. I have to wear a silver bride's helmet weighing several kilograms for the whole day, not to mention the silver collar around my neck and 5 or 6 silver bracelets on my wrists. It's hard work. Do you understand? I'm setting the conditions here. Either you just have a simple meal together in B-City and call it a day, or you sign an additional clause for me. Du Ju clicked his tongue repeatedly after hearing this. You black-hearted woman. You don't take the bright road, but insist on breaking into the dark path. You deserve it. Okay, you're so cruel. I promise you, a beetle. Cheng Nuo was stunned, a little confused. It's just a fake marriage, do you really want to make it so costly? Of course, when the time comes, our wedding will be recorded on a CD. I want you to wear gold and silver and live a glorious life, making that woman Xiaoqing mad. Well, you've made a huge sacrifice for revenge. When a man becomes ruthless, he really wants to sacrifice his life. Du Ju raised his eyebrows and smiled indifferently. It's not like I'm sacrificing myself to others, so it doesn't matter who we are. Cheng Nuo's mouth twitched, and he finally signed the agreement, and wrote the additional terms on the back by hand. The two of them also solemnly pressed their fingerprints and signed. Du Ju received the agreement, was delighted, carefully put it back into his briefcase, and then opened his arms. Come on, happy cooperation, Nuo, let me hug you. Cheng Nuo pushed his arm away and said, Come on, keep your embrace for your 9th girlfriend. I have to go home and give my mom a heads up. It's so sudden, don't scare her. Brother is sending you. Cheng Nuo knew that Du Ju was driving a Toyota Camry. She didn't like Japanese cars, or more precisely, anything with the word Japanese in it. So, she refused to take the ride and snorted, If you really want to make it easier for me, give me my beetle in advance. After saying that, Cheng Nuo took his bag and left. Du Ju followed her like a servile idiot, muttering to himself, This is easy. Cheng Nuo also heard this, but did not take it to heart. That night, Du Ju, dressed in casual clothes, knocked on Cheng Nuo's door. At that time, Cheng Nuo's family had just finished dinner. Generally speaking, those who knock on the door at this time are most likely from the Du family. So, Cheng Nuo opened the door without any suspicion, and sure enough, it turned out to be the case. Du Ju stood at the door without saying anything about going in. He smiled and said, Girl, brother has a present for you. After that, he took out a small cage the size of a palm from behind him. It was packaged quite delicately. Cheng Nuo took it and felt like there was a living thing inside, hitting the cage wall from time to time. But since he couldn't see clearly inside, he couldn't help but wonder, what is that? Chapter 9 It's not like we've never kissed before. Du Ju laughed sinisterly, deliver. What? Beetle. Cheng Nuo's eyebrows twitched wildly, Du Ju, you're such a pervert. Cheng Nuo never expected that his role would make their whole night lively. When Cheng's mother heard her daughter scream, she put down the sweater she was knitting and rushed out. Nuo, why are you screaming at the door so late at night? Cheng Nuo was still staring at Du. Du, however, transformed himself into a good young man in society and smiled at Mother Cheng. Auntie, there's nothing else to do. I just came to pay my betrothal gift to Nuo. Dowry. Mother Cheng was confused. Du subconsciously looked at Cheng Nuo again, and then glared at her. You haven't told Auntie yet. Mother Cheng couldn't stand the anxiety of being kept in the dark. What's going on with your two children? Cheng Nuo threw the small cage to his mother unhappily. It's nothing. Here, I'll give you an insect. Take it and raise it. Having said that, the girl was about to close the door, and of course, she wanted to lock Du outside as well. But Cheng's mother blocked the door and began to lecture. Hey, kid, you are becoming more and more rude. How could you squeeze Du outside? Speaking of this, I have to add that Duju's nickname is quite cute, Dudu. Mother Cheng rescued Du and little Dudu, and quickly locked onto the target. Dudu, what's the matter? What's the betrothal gift, and what is this? As she spoke, she raised the small cage, genuinely curious. Du grinned and looked at Cheng Nuo's livid face with pride. This is what happened. Nuo and I. Hey, I'm really embarrassed to say it, it's like this, Auntie, I'm going to get married with her, and the betrothal gift. Before she finished her words, Cheng's mother shouted at the living room, old man. Come out quickly, something big has happened. Duju's smile froze. Cheng Nuo couldn't help but hold his forehead. Father Cheng lived up to Mother Cheng's high expectations. In a few seconds, he rushed over and asked, What's the matter? What's the matter? Just like that, four people crowded in front of the Cheng family's door. Cheng Nuo wanted to suggest, if you have something to say, can't you sit on the sofa and talk slowly? Mother Cheng held Father Cheng's arm with tears streaming down her face. Your daughter is getting married. Father Cheng was stunned. What? Marriage? Why are you in such a hurry? What does the other party do? Is his family background clean? Have you found out everything? What about the betrothal gift? All these need to be discussed. Also, the parents of both parties haven't met yet. I only have one daughter, can I just marry her off casually? Father Cheng was getting more and more excited as he spoke, and Mother Cheng had no chance to get a word in. Finally, when Father Cheng took a breath, she hurriedly added, the one who's going to marry your daughter is Dudu. Beans. Father Cheng looked at Duju. Duju straightened his face and nodded solemnly. Father Cheng grinned and said, Hey, you should have said it earlier. If it's Dudu, no betrothal gift is fine. Cheng Nuo staggered. It was obvious that Cheng's parents were very excited, even a little carried away. This is great news, why didn't you two tell me earlier? You've reached the point of getting married, how long have you been dating? Look at you, you are confused. These two kids have been dating since kindergarten. At that time, our Nuo even gave Dudu a pair of pants. Duju couldn't bear it any longer and staggered. While Mr. Cheng was excited, he suddenly remembered something very important. What? It started in kindergarten. Isn't that puppy love? What's there to be afraid of if you fall in love too early? Isn't your daughter very outstanding now? Dudu is even more outstanding. Mother Cheng came to her daughter's rescue, and at the same time did not forget to praise her future son-in-law. Father Cheng nodded, but suddenly remembered something. Hey, didn't Nuo start dating a kid from her unit 7 or 8 days ago? That's a smoke screen to fool us. Mother Cheng is so smart that she can think of this explanation. Oh alas, kids nowadays are still secretive when they fall in love. They are not the same kind of people, and they are from the same family. Mr. Cheng actually believed it. Marriage is a big deal. Should we discuss it with Lao Du and the others? Let's go, we need to discuss. If we don't discuss, I can't sleep. The two elders talked to themselves, ignoring the two parties involved, and went straight out and knocked on the door opposite. Cheng Nuo was so shocked by the current situation that he couldn't utter a word. Duju grabbed her arm with false kindness and pretended to support her. Why are you standing there like that? Come to my house. Cheng Nuo could finally sit on the sofa. When Du's parents heard what Cheng's parents said and showed a look of surprise, Cheng Nuo sneered, leaned towards Duju beside him, tilted his head, and said in a low voice with a slurred voice, Du, didn't you say anything? Unexpectedly, This action was seen by Cheng's mother, who misunderstood. Look, these two children have such a good relationship. Nuo, don't be too intimate, Cheng Nuo was speechless and wanted to cry but had no tears. Du's parents obviously accepted the reality faster than Cheng's parents. Within a minute, they were discussing the details of the wedding enthusiastically and happily in the living room. Ju always maintained a perfect smile and added a very constructive comment at the right time. Cheng Nuo felt like she was totally out of the picture. She really wanted to say, "This marriage is fake, can everyone please not take it so seriously?" Cheng Nuo couldn't imagine what expressions would be on the faces of both sets of parents and what a blow they would suffer if she and Ju divorced 2 months later. She didn't think this through. Moreover, things have come to this point, and there seems to be little room for maneuver. The best she can do is to have a talk with her mother every morning and evening, tell her mother that there are too many flash marriages and flash divorces these days, so no matter what the future holds for her and Ju, please stay calm. The parents of the Cheng and Du families discussed the matter incessantly and eloquently for 2 or 3 hours. At some point, Ju had left Cheng Nuo's side, sat in the discussion circle, and joined the discussion camp. Cheng Nuo yawned out of boredom, but suddenly realized that this action was really unfilial. She covered her lips and quietly wiped away the mist from the corners of her eyes. Unfortunately, less than a minute later, she yawned again. Cheng Nuo took out her cell phone and couldn't help but tremble. It's already 1 in the morning. I wonder if she can retreat first and dream about Ju Gong? When Cheng Nuo yawned for the 3rd time, someone finally stood up. I'll take care of the details. Auntie, Uncle Cheng, it's getting late now, and Mo Nuo has to get up early for work tomorrow. How about we? Chapter 10 First Kiss. Before Ju finished speaking, his mother said ambiguously, "Yes, marriage is such a big thing, how can it be settled in one night? Sister Minute, come to my place tomorrow morning, and we can have morning tea together and chat while eating." Dudu, look at you, kid, what's wrong? Are you worried that your future wife will stay up late and feel bad for her? I've never seen you so worried about your mother. Mom, Ju said in a coquettish voice that confused everyone, making the foreheads of the family burst into laughter. Cheng Nuo grinned and twitched, thinking that this gangster Ju really had a talent for acting. But, thanks to him, I can finally go home and sleep. After the first pre-wedding discussion meeting, Ju naturally took on the responsibility of sending his future father-in-law, mother-in-law, and bride home. In fact, it was just a corridor of 2 or 3 meters. By the way, when Cheng's parents opened the door of their house, a small incident occurred. That is, when Cheng Nuo took a step to enter the house, Ju grabbed her arm from behind. What? Cheng Nuo, with his heavy eyelids, began to feel dazed. Ju looked around and suddenly lowered his voice, "Nuo, give me a kiss goodbye." Cheng Nuo shuddered, and most of his sleepiness disappeared. He squeezed out a few painful words, "You are looking for death." Ju glared at her in dismay, "Silly girl, you're doing this for others to see, understand? We're in love, but we didn't even have a goodbye kiss, is that normal? I bet your aunt is definitely looking out through the peephole on the door." Cheng Nuo thought about it and realized that his mother could really do this, but I don't care about these things. Anyway, don't even think about it. After saying that, he continued to move forward, but his arm was pulled by Ju, as if he was hit by diamond concrete and he couldn't move at all. Ju looked confused. "Hey, why are you being so pretentious? It won't hurt if I kiss you. Besides, it's not like we haven't kissed before, right?" Upon hearing this, Cheng Nuo got furious. "You're still talking? That's all old news. Besides, I was just trying to help you chase girls, so. Ju, stop looking for trouble for no reason." Ju insisted, "Why are you looking for trouble? You have to put on a show. Both sets of parents are watching us. Don't let them down. Come here and give us a goodbye kiss. You can find whoever you want, Before she finished her words, Ju pulled her arm stiffly, pecked her on the lips, and then let go of her without any attachment, waving his hand, all right, go to sleep. Look how hard it is." Cheng Nuo couldn't help but freeze, glared at Ju angrily, went back to his home, and slammed the door. She didn't know whether Ju turned around the moment she turned around, but she thought that this should be beyond doubt. Cheng Nuo was still leaning against the door, taking deep breaths over and over again, staring at the ground with unfocused eyes. The electric shock feeling brought by the previous light kiss still lingered and seemed to be unable to go away. It made her feel even more difficult to let go than the childish first kiss more than 10 years ago. She and Duju were so familiar with each other that she could even count how many pores with blackheads there were on his face. Maybe because we are so familiar with each other, he regards me as a buddy, or a helper in special moments, or a prop that can be used at will. And she actually indulged him for so many years reluctantly, and it is even possible that she will continue to indulge him. Although the first kiss 11 years ago was just a child's play, Cheng Nuo knew that she would never forget it in her life. I still remember that it was a summer day, one day before the summer camp started. Nanuo, Dudu is here to do homework with you. Open the door, Nuo Nuo. 11 years ago, it was my mother who brought in that indelible dream. 14-year-old Cheng Nuo really treated Duju as a best friend, so she just wore a sleeveless t-shirt and shorts, opened the door, and didn't even put on her cute little outfit. Her upper body was almost exposed to the sight of a young boy. Because, at that time, Cheng Nuo did not regard Duju as a male. She saw him holding a few textbooks that he had used for a year but still looked as new as if they had just been issued. She turned her head away with disdain and helplessness in her eyes, sat back in her chair, and said unhappily, "You sit at the other end of the table. If you have any questions, ask them. If you don't, write them yourself. Of course, it's best if you don't have any questions, so as not to bother me." Mother Cheng scolded her, "How can you talk like that, kid? You should study together and discuss with each other, only in this way can you make progress. Dudu, sit down first. This glass of orange juice is yours, and the other one is for Nuo. Auntie will cut some watermelon for you." "No need, Auntie. I'll go to the living room to get it myself after I finish my homework." Duju, who had just entered the voice change period, had a hoarse voice like a duck. Cheng Nuo tried to hold back his laughter, and his face turned red. Mother Cheng smiled and said, "Dudu is still sensible. Okay, Auntie won't bother you anymore." After that, she helped close the door. Duju put the book on the table, turned around and locked the door. Cheng Nuo frowned. "What are you doing? Sneaking around?" Duju put his finger to his lips. "Sure, something's wrong, something big." By the way, Cheng Nuo really wanted to laugh when she heard his voice. She always felt that Duju was as if someone was strangling his neck. Moreover, she really laughed with a puff. Duju knew why she was laughing. He was also troubled by the troubles of voice change. But Cheng Nuo's smile seemed to add insult to injury. He glared at her angrily. As a result, this glare made him accidentally see something he shouldn't have seen. The view was clear and direct through the wide straps of Cheng Nuo's sleeveless t-shirt, revealing her body without any obstruction. If the first time he looked at it was accidental, then the second time, Duju couldn't help but look at it consciously and secretly. Although it is not very mature yet, the initial shape has been seen. Duju coughed awkwardly, and subconsciously grabbed a glass of orange juice and took a few gulps. Cheng Nuo frowned and looked up, saying unhappily, "Hey, you are too shameless, that cup is mine." Duju was a little angry and said, "Stingy, what's wrong with me drinking a sip?" Cheng Nuo shook his head and said helplessly, "Please stop talking, okay? Your voice. Forget it, just pretend I didn't say anything. What were you going to say just now? Come on, I know that your so-called big things are just a few of them. What do you want me to do for you? Pass a love letter, send a gift, or help you arrange a dinner?" Duju wiped the orange juice from the corner of his mouth and waved his hand. "None of that, those are just child's play." Cheng Nuo pursed his lips, he was totally skeptical. Chapter 11 Helping Needs Reward. Duju moved his chair closer to Cheng Nuo. Perhaps it was due to the residual visual disturbance from before, but he felt a little nervous the moment he approached. He cleared his throat, glanced at Cheng Nuo's chest quietly, and left in a hurry. "Nuo Nuo, are you hot?" Cheng Nuo glanced at him impatiently, completely unaware that his immature body was invisibly emitting temptation. "Duju, why are you so fussy today? If you have something to say, just say it." Duju cleared his throat again, and whether he was feeling guilty or something else, he also shouted in an unpleasant tone, "All right, stop rushing me, I've been thinking about this, that. Shuko from class 2, do you know him?" Cheng Nuo showed a disdainful smile. "I have long admired the school beauty of our class. Don't be so funny, well. I want to pursue her during the summer camp in 2 days. Oh, Cheng Nuo raised his eyebrows. Do you want me to hand over a love letter, or a gift, or to arrange a dinner for you? Those are just child's play. I heard that Shuku is a very mean girl, and she has a criminal record. She has had many boyfriends. Cheng Nuo was puzzled. Is there a problem? Didn't you have a girlfriend before? It's different. I heard that Shuku likes mature girls, but the last time I dated someone, we only dated for a month, and damn, we didn't even get to hold their hand. Stop. Cheng Nuo gestured and interrupted him at the right time. You can talk, but can you please stop using bad words? Du Ju was stunned for a moment, then humbly accepted the advice. Okay, that. I'm afraid that if I really go too hard right from the start, I, who have never even kissed someone, won't be able to handle it. I'm afraid she'll find out and think I'm naive. Cheng Nuo blinked. Are you done? It's over. Cheng Nuo still didn't understand. Then what exactly do you want me to do? Du Ju moved closer to her again. Nunuo, since we grew up together, please practice with me. Practice? Kiss? Cheng Nuo paused for a moment, then came to his senses and went into a rage. Did lightning strike your brain? Cheng Nuo's yelling had no effect on Du Ju. Instead, it made him regain the naturalness he had when he was with her before. He put his hand on Cheng Nuo's slender shoulder and clicked his tongue with a playful smile. Why are you so excited? You have nothing to lose by practicing with me. Look at how you are so eager. If I wasn't in a hurry, I wouldn't ask a tomboy like you to practice with me. At the age of 13 or 14, Cheng Nuo still had no clear understanding of the importance of a woman's figure. She even puffed out her chest and said, Okay, I'm a tomboy, so why don't you just go find your little brother to practice with you? Can it be the same? How are they different? They are both chest to back. Du Ju had shot himself in the foot. He admitted defeat and begged for mercy. Okay, it's my fault. My followers are a bunch of stinky boys. I feel sick when I get close to them. Nuo, after all, we wore the same pants when we were young. I don't mention this easily. Now I bring it up to fully illustrate our deep friendship. It's like siblings, right? You say, kissing each other is normal, isn't it? Hey, you're not afraid of me, are you? It is better to provoke the enemy than to persuade him, which can always achieve the effect of surprising the enemy and winning the battle. Cheng Nuo slammed the table and stood up. All right, stop wasting time. $500 after the job is done. Helping needs to be paid. When pocket money was still a luxury, Cheng Nuo had already made a relatively small sum of money from Du Ju over the past decade or so. Du Ju wailed, 500? You're going to kill me. Cheng Nuo pretended to pick up a pen and was about to sit down again. If you don't want to, forget it. Du Ju gritted his teeth and waved his hand. Deal. Then you have to practice with me. Cheng Nuo rolled his eyes. How else can I be? I'll give you 1 minute to find the trick as soon as possible. I still have homework to do. Okay, you, turn around first. Du Ju stuttered a little and was nervous. Cheng Nuo stood straight in front of Du Ju, his body as stiff as a piece of wood. I say, can you please close your eyes? You are staring at me so wide, how can I practice? We are all girls, why don't you feel a little shy? Cheng Nuo snorted, shy? Then should I drive quietly again? She said so, but she still closed her eyes obediently. Cheng Nuo closed his eyes and suddenly seemed much more docile. It turns out that Cheng Nuo is also a girl. Du Ju's hands got stronger and stronger, and Cheng Nuo's grip became tighter and tighter. His palms were full of sweat. The wetness made him feel a little embarrassed, so he quickly moved his position and slowly moved towards her back. When he put his arms around her waist, Du Ju had only one thing in mind. The waist in his arms was so slender and thin, he was really afraid that he would break it by accident. At the moment when he succeeded, Cheng Nuo suddenly opened his eyes and pushed Du Ju away like a little female leopard. You! Du Ju, what are you doing? Cheng Nuo didn't understand what the previous action meant, but he knew it wasn't just a good thing. After thinking about it again, as if her anger was not relieved, she started punching and kicking, and even picked up her textbook and smashed it on Du Ju's head. Du Ju was still unsatisfied, but also somewhat satisfied. He dodged with a smile. Isn't it just practice? Hey, Nuo, you're blushing. Chapter 12 Gao Ming joins. Cheng Nuo felt as if his face was really burning. but he said hard, blushing. You are asking for more. You have to add another 500. Du Ju smiled evilly. Okay, but you have to practice with me again. Go away, and don't come to my house again. Hey, Nuo, it's equal exchange, why are you so excited? I'm just excited. Give me 500 yuan and get out of here. Why should I pay if there is no return? I don't care about you, hurry up, 500. Cheng Nuo no longer remembered how they ended their childish quarrel. She only knew that the kiss and the somewhat unfaithful touch kept her awake all night. Moreover, since then, she could no longer look at Du Ju without gender discrimination as before. The next day marked the beginning of another work week. Cheng Nuo got ready and went out. Coincidentally, Du Ju also opened the door opposite. The two looked at each other, and Du Ju smiled as usual, raised his hand, and said, "Hi, Nuo, what a coincidence. This is Du Ju, just like the dragonfly kiss on the water last night, as natural as the blink of an eyelid and not remembered in the heart." Cheng Nuo rolled her eyes at him and muttered unhappily, "Bad luck." Then she waved away his hand that was about to slap her shoulder. This is Cheng Nuo. In her heart, there is a pride that makes her never take the initiative to express a feeling that can be said to be unrequited love. In her worldview of love, she does not allow herself to give more than the other party. Du Ju acted indifferent, so she must be able to be even more indifferent than him. Nuo, do you want to take a ride with me? Du Ju followed Cheng Nuo happily, and the two of them arrived at the elevator one after the other. Cheng Nuo made a stop gesture to stop him. Forget about the ride, but please remember my beetle. Don't fool me with some disgusting insects. The elevator door opened, Cheng Nuo walked in first, and Du Ju followed closely behind, tilting his head to look at her with a sly smile. Everyone has been quite nervous lately, I was just trying to shake things up last night. By the way, that one last night. Before he could finish, Cheng Nuo interrupted him and said, I threw it into the microwave and roasted it. Du Ju was shocked. After roasting? Have eaten. Du Ju's petrification ended after 2 seconds. Based on his understanding of Cheng Nuo, if he believed what she said, he should really go back to kindergarten and start over. Du Ju coughed and decided to bring up the old topic again. Hey, you really don't want to take my ride? As he spoke, this time, he successfully hugged Cheng Nuo's shoulders. Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth and said, Don't touch me. Brother, your car has been well tuned by me. How about using this one to replace your beetle in the future? Okay? Okay? The ending of Du Ju's voice began to distort, because Cheng Nuo tilted his little face and sneered, while pinching Du Ju's thigh with 2 fingers and spinning them in a circle. Du Ju grinned and snorted, Girl, can you stop pinching my skin? It hurts, hiss, it hurts. Beetle. All right, beetle. Redeem within 1 month. You're going to force me to death, hiss. Okay, I'll deliver within a month. Cheng Nuo let go of his hand, and the elevator stopped and opened at this moment. Watching the woman walk away triumphantly, Du Ju rubbed the outside of his thighs vigorously and jumped out of the elevator door. Hey, Nuo, you really don't want to sit. This girl is getting more and more ruthless. It's not easy to be a brother, especially in recent years, his body is covered with bruises. Why doesn't Cheng Nuo know how to be gentle with women? Hey! Do you want to sit? Cheng Nuo courageously squeezed into the subway, stepped into the gate of the institute on time for work. I ran into my female colleague sitting at the next table. Just as I was about to say hello, my eyes were covered by a pair of hands behind me. Cheng Nuo was startled and subconsciously tried to pull those hands away. However, the restraint on her eyes became tighter, and a deep and laughing voice came close to her ear. Guess who I am? This voice. Cheng Nuo felt her mind go blank for a moment, then she suddenly pulled down those hands and turned her head. You. The man smiled. Good morning, No. Zhang Yi. What's up? We haven't seen each other for a weekend. Don't you recognize each other? By the way, what have you been busy with these past 2 days? You didn't even send me a text message. Cheng Nuo opened his mouth. Zhang Yi, the man who had become his boyfriend 7 days ago but cheated on Du Ju's girlfriend, was talking to him with a smile as if nothing had happened, and even handed him a bag of bread and milk. Here, your breakfast. Cheng Nuo was a little dazed. She grinned dryly. No, I've eaten. Indeed, on Saturday, she forgot to send the breakup text message to Zhang Yi due to agreement issues. But now it seems that Zhang Yi has no intention of breaking up with her. Does he want to have two relationships at the same time, or is there a misunderstanding? But, the video Du Ju recorded. Zhang Yi bit his bread while chatting. By the way, Nuo, we have a new colleague coming to our office today, a top student who just graduated from S-City. Oh. He must be talking about Gao Ming. He is really well informed. In the quality inspection office, everyone seemed to have their own special eyes and ears and sources of information. The degree of gossip and sensitivity of the colleagues in the office was definitely no less than that of the veteran paparazzi in the entertainment industry, because only by mastering the most reliable information could they know who to rely on and how to get promoted in the shortest time. To climb the career ladder in a government agency, one relies on connections. The same is true for climbing the career ladder in a public institution affiliated with a government agency. Cheng Nuo sneered in his heart, and his thoughts returned to the mysterious love affair between Zhang Yi and Du Ju's girlfriend Xiao Qing. Compared with getting promoted, the authenticity of this matter was more important. Zhang Yi. Do you know Du Ju? Zhang Yi paused, then smiled and said, I know, the one who gave you an umbrella last Thursday. Yes, it's him. He said he wanted to have dinner with us so we can get to know each other and become friends in the future. By the way, he also wanted to introduce his girlfriend, Xiao Qing, to us. Cheng Nuo blinked innocently, her clever eyes staring at every subtle expression of Zhang Yi. There must be a problem between Zhang Yi and Du Ju, and what she could do was to let them confront each other face to face. Okay. This is what Zhang Yi answered at that time. Chapter 13, True Colors Revealed. However, Cheng Nuo saw Zhang Yi's brief hesitation, and this moment of hesitation made her understand that Du Ju really did not lie. There is really something wrong with Zhang Yi and Xiao Qing. So, now that Zhang Yi is being so attentive to me, does he want to have the best of both worlds? Cheng Nuo no longer had the mood to dig into this man's mind. In fact, she disliked men who were indecisive in relationships. There was an impulse that made her feel that agreeing to Du Ju's fake marriage was the right thing to do. Zhang Yi didn't understand why Cheng Nuo was testing him on purpose, and he guiltily wanted to change the subject, but after turning around and around, he ended up returning to Gao Ming. No, I heard that our new colleague has a strong backer. Really? Cheng Nuo responded without interest. In this academy, it was not uncommon for someone to have a backer. It would be rare if someone was admitted through real efforts. I heard that he will be assigned to the inspection department of our institute. This is a lucrative job. During the last rotation, you also applied to be transferred to the inspection department, but the leader didn't approve it. So, to get a job in a public institution like ours, you still have to rely on connections. By the way, I heard that this new guy. Before he could finish his words, Cheng Nuo couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted him. Zhang Yi, you go up first. My stomach suddenly hurts a lot. Please help me with the meter. Having said that, Cheng Nuo escaped under the pretext of going to the bathroom. She was really annoyed that people were talking about Gao Ming like this before he even reported for duty. After all, Gao Ming was her first love, although that was under special circumstances and was specially defined by her. But times have changed, and as of now, perhaps, she really could have developed a relationship with Gao Ming. The day after Gao Ming was transferred here, Director Kong, the former head of the research department, found Cheng Nuo and said, in 2 days, there will be a new round of competitions. It is also the time for the 3-year spring job transfer within the institute. I think, you will be transferred to the assessment department. Little girl, no one will oppress you. You will be free in the future. Cheng Nuo replied with a chuckle, everyone has a tendency to abuse others. If someone is used to being abused and suddenly doesn't feel oppressed anymore, they will feel empty. Director Kong glared at her, stop smiling at me, Cheng Nuo. I'm this old and in this position, and I still can't see through your mind. More than 80% of the people who come to our institute are relatives of the directors and department heads in the Quality Supervision Bureau. I dare say that there are more people in the entire institute who can get in with your own ability like you. Originally, when you came here, Deputy Director Liang and I thought, are you a high-scoring but low-ability person? Or are you just raised in an ivory tower and don't know the complexity of society at all? After half a year, I suddenly found that you are actually with our department. No, not just our department, but almost everyone in the institute, from the deputy director to ordinary employees like you can get along with everyone like a fish in water. Remarkable ability. The most important thing is that no one found out how you broke in, but when they found out, it seemed that everyone was very close to you. Cheng Nuo listened and just smiled. Director Kong looked at her and said, I think you are an ambitious girl, but you hide it very well. This is cunning. The election is coming soon. You will sign up to run for deputy director, right? Cheng Nuo smiled lightly. That depends on whether the leaders will give me the opportunity to apply. Although I can run for election after 3 years of working in the institute, there are so many outstanding people in the institute. Director Kong knocked on his desk with the back of his fingers. Stop it, do you think I came to talk to you for no reason? Cheng Nuo understood that Director Kong must have heard some rumors. She wanted to move up, and this was just to get out of her current predicament. She did not deliberately try to please anyone. Perhaps it was an instinct left over from years of good temper. She could indeed meet people and say things appropriately. Most importantly, she knew that she had a pretty face and that she could afford to be made fun of. Women should know how to grasp their own advantages. Director Kong finally warned her, most people in the institute have connections, and those connections are deeply rooted and so huge that even I can't see them clearly, so do your best and leave the rest to fate. Don't worry too much about the results. As far as I know, you don't seem to have any backers, right? Cheng Nuo knew what Director Kong meant, which was that she shouldn't have too much hope for this election. This was actually the result she had expected, so she joked nonchalantly, of course, you are my backer. Stop it. Director Kong wanted to train her. She had the ability, was willing to learn, and had a way of getting along in society that made people not disgusted. So, he trained her like a daughter. However, after changing departments, he was no longer able to do anything for her. In the end, Cheng Nuo couldn't have imagined that he would be squeezed out by Gao Ming by just one vote. It was inevitable that she would not mind this. If it were anyone else, she might not mind it as much as she does now. She felt betrayed. On the night of the announcement, Gao Ming also invited Cheng Nuo to dinner on the pretext of getting together with old classmates. Cheng Nuo couldn't remember too many details about the dinner, but he had a clear memory of what Gao Ming said. There is also an autumn job competition this year, Cheng Nuo. Before I reported for work, I had already been internally appointed as deputy director, but in order to convince others, I was asked to participate in the public job competition speech. Although you have been here for 3 years, your performance is good, and your relationship with your colleagues is said to be very good. I heard that you have the most votes among ordinary employees in this vote. However, your job knowledge is limited to the research department, which is a disadvantage, because when competing for a mid-level deputy position, no one knows which department they will be assigned to, and you must also have some understanding of other departments. Cheng Nuo knew he was right. In fact, she had applied for a transfer a year ago, but the deputy director said that the scientific research task was heavy and she, the one with the highest performance, was indispensable, so he did not agree to her transfer. Working in a public institution is like being a fish trapped in a net. That kind of predicament is suffocating. So, when Cheng Nuo heard this, he was less dissatisfied and wary of Gao Ming, but he did not open his heart easily. Instead, he asked a very clever question, so what? Gao Ming smiled slightly and looked at Cheng Nuo with his slightly unfathomable eyes. So, I will apply to my superiors, and you can come to my testing department and work with me for half a year. Afraid that Cheng Nuo would be unhappy, Gao Ming added, if you have no future in the research and design department, come to my testing department, go out for testing every day, be an expert, eat and drink well, and get paid, which is better than working with boring drawing software. Cheng Nuo smiled. It is said that a new official will make 3 big moves upon taking office. Gao Ming, before he even took office, had already made 2 of them in front of her. Chapter 14. There is a problem. First he squeezed her position out, and then he tried to make up for it by giving her a promotion. For a moment, she could not fully analyze Gao Ming's intentions. She knew that Gao Ming's move was definitely not as simple as just helping his old classmate, nor was it to develop a further ambiguous relationship with her. The most likely possibility was that it was out of his own interests. After all, in the scientific research and design department, if we talk about the most capable employee, Cheng Nuo is undoubtedly the one. Gao Ming is an outsider after all. Even if he has a backer, he still wants a reliable and practical assistant to carry out his work, and this assistant is naturally Cheng Nuo. Cheng Nuo understood all of this, but if she could really be transferred to another position, it would be an opportunity for her. If it was something that benefited herself and did not harm others, she had no reason to refuse. So, Cheng Nuo agreed. That night, Gao Ming drove his own car to take Cheng Nuo home. It was a Dongfeng Nissan worth no more than 170,000 or 180,000 yuan, but it showed that Gao Ming had already had all the preparations ready for his entry into the Quality Supervision Bureau. Look, even the mount that a leader should have was fully equipped. After Cheng Nuo's competition for the position was settled, she, Du Ju, Zhang Yi and Xiao Qing, the complex four-corner relationship group, finally came together. Cheng Nuo was actually surprised as well. On the one hand, she was surprised why Du Ju hadn't broken up with Xiao Qing yet, but then she thought about it and understood that this was most likely the same situation as her and Zhang Yi. Xiao Qing was two-timing and had her eyes on Du Ju, a potential stock. Maybe she was planning to cheat Du Ju out of a lot of money and then announce the failure. Du Ju would take advantage of the situation and wait until he got married to her in fake marriage to make a fortune from Xiao Qing. On the other hand, she was also surprised that Zhang Yi agreed to this dinner. She felt that Zhang Yi was quite courageous and must have secretly discussed this drama with Xiao Qing. If he and Xiao Qing were really having an affair in secret, but were playing with her and Du Ju's relationship in public, then she would definitely make the two of them regret it to the point where their intestines turned green. Because, coincidentally, she and Du Ju had also secretly agreed to act together. Just watch and see who can act more realistically and who can reveal the other party's cards first. At that time, Cheng Nuo and Du Ju agreed to have dinner at a Hewn restaurant near their workplace after get-off work on a Friday. Due to the distance, Cheng Nuo and Zhang Yi naturally arrived first. Du Ju and Xiao Qing were not late either. Almost within 2 minutes after Cheng Nuo sat down, the two of them came in hand. Seeing this scene, Cheng Nuo raised her eyebrows imperceptibly and looked at Du Ju's smiling face calmly. She couldn't tell his true thoughts from his face, so she turned her gaze to Xiao Qing again. Xiao Qing is very young. She looks like a girl who just graduated from a nursing school. She is about 20 years old. But the younger he gets, the more Cheng Nuo feels that this society is terrible. Is it possible that there are fewer and fewer girls who want to fight for their future with their own strength? She didn't want to be so pessimistic, but when she saw Xiao Qing's slightly stiff smile when she looked at Zhang Yi, her hope was shattered. Du Ju saw the two of them and raised his hand. Nuo, you're here so early. Cheng Nuo smiled. Du Ju arrived at the dining table and even pulled out a seat for Xiao Qing like a gentleman. Cheng Nuo raised the corner of his mouth slightly. This Du Ju can really be a senior actor. Even at this level, he can still do some details. You must be Xiao Qing, right? I often hear Du Ju mention you. I believe you also know who I am. This is my boyfriend, Zhang Yi. Cheng Nuo kicked the ball to Zhang Yi in a few words. After that, she tilted her head innocently and smiled at Zhang Yi. What do you think? Miss Xiao Qing is a beauty, young and pretty. Hey, is this what you men like? After saying this, Du Ju secretly cast a glance of approval. This was probably the first time Cheng Nuo said something like this to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was caught off guard and his expression froze. Stop joking, Nuo. You said it was a joke, why are you so serious? Look at you, you are so serious. We are all young people. Xiao Qing won't mind what I say, right? Xiao Qing, isn't this guy of mine quite gentle and handsome? He is no worse than that gangster Du Ju, right? Xiao Qing had just finished talking about Zhang Yi. Unexpectedly, Cheng Nuo casually pointed the finger at her again. She was also stunned. This. Before she could finish, Cheng Nuo laughed and pushed Zhang Yi beside him. Look how nervous you two are. What's wrong? It's a pity that we met too late. Cheng Nuo's push seemed light, but it was actually abrupt. Zhang Yi was probably in a state of great tension, and that push actually made him stagger. Cheng Nuo. For the first time, Zhang Yi yelled at Cheng Nuo angrily. The next second, he realized that he seemed to be overly sensitive. He laughed dryly and said, "It's not good to joke around like this when we just met." Cheng Nuo glanced at Zhang Yi with a half smile. I remember that you were quite generous when you confessed your love to me. At that time, it seemed that we only spoke to each other twice. If I hadn't been so flattered, I might not have agreed to be your girlfriend now. Why are you being so hypocritical today? No way, you're joking again. Zhang Yi was obviously at a loss for words. He could not imagine that Cheng Nuo, who usually looked unassuming and talkative, had such a good eloquence. He was so embarrassed that he even stiffly raised his head, let alone looked up at Xiao Qing. Du Zhu had been watching from the sidelines, with a sly smile on his face. From the moment Cheng Nuo told him about the four people's meal, he knew that this girl didn't trust him very much, so he naturally knew the time to remain silent and leave the right to speak to the doubtful woman. And Cheng Nuo did not disappoint him, and started off with a joking yet somewhat aggressive tone. The first one who couldn't sit still was Xiao Qing. Before a dish was served, she stood up and said she wanted to go to the bathroom. Cheng Nuo held his chin up and watched Xiao Qing leave the table lazily, without looking away. He chuckled twice. Hey, you have a good eye this time. Duda knew she was speaking sarcastically, and he chuckled along with her. Same here. By the way, did you give me some stir-fried beef? I can't eat without this dish. Cheng Nuo handed over the menu directly. Nothing. Hey, you have no conscience, don't you know that this is a must-order dish when I come to a Hyun restaurant? I've already given you the menu, and I'm also giving you a chance to hook up with the pretty waitress, isn't that good? You're so long-winded. Chapter 15: The So-Called First Love. Early in the morning, order the food now, and I don't know when it will be served. You can't even think about this. I've loved you for more than 20 years in vain. If you keep talking, just take your wife away. I've already seen her. You stupid girl, I haven't even had a sip of water yet and you're already kicking me. You're the one who's talking too much. You have no conscience. Zhang Yi smiled stiffly as he looked at the two people who were arguing next to him. They completely ignored him and he could no longer sit still. I'm going to the bathroom too. Cheng Nuo seemed to have just remembered that there was someone beside him. Oh, go ahead. The food hasn't arrived yet. Don't worry, I won't pick up my chopsticks even if it comes. I'll wait for you. Listening to her jokes that were almost sarcastic, Zhang Yi knew that if he didn't leave the table, he would not be able to keep the smile on his face. As soon as handsome Zhang left, Du Zhu stretched out his finger and flicked Cheng Nuo on the forehead. Silly girl, except for me, not everyone can stand the way you talk. Cheng Nuo glared at him, then rubbed his forehead. I don't talk like that to everyone. Today, I want to apologize to you. It was my fault for not trusting you before. We grew up together, and I actually doubted your intentions. Oh, let's not talk about it anymore. Anyway, I will help you avenge your hatred. Du Zhu grinned and corrected himself. It's our grudge. Nuo, let's make a bet. I bet those two will definitely meet at the bathroom door. Cheng Nuo also grinned. No bet. Because I also think that they will definitely meet at the bathroom door. As expected. Zhang Yi was guarding the door of the women's restroom, blocking Xiao Qing. If Cheng Nuo and Du Zhu hadn't been thinking about playing it long-term and taking revenge, they could have caught the adulterer right now. Xiao Qing was startled by Zhang Yi's interruption. What for? Zhang Yi leaned against her face and lit a cigarette. Nothing. I was just sitting there, feeling very upset. Xiao Qing sneered when she heard this. You deserve it. Who told you to agree to a four-way meeting? Don't you know how scared I am? I don't even dare to look at you. And your girlfriend is quite talkative. I always feel like she knows something. Zhang Yi disagreed. You are guilty as a thief. Oh, you're not a thief. By the way, you said before that you confessed to Cheng Nuo in order to get revenge on me for breaking up with you. Later, we reconciled. You said that you were with her to get promoted and that you thought she might be promoted to deputy director. Now, she is still an employee like you. Why don't you break up? Zhang Yi spit out his eye circles and squinted his eyes. What about you? Aren't you also clinging to Du Zhu? Did he really promise to give you a car? Xiao Qing was a little unsure. I did ask him, and he agreed. But he speaks half-truths. I don't know if he will keep his promise. But everyone in the hospital has said about his romantic history. He is an unreliable man. He changes women like changing clothes, but he is very generous to each of his girlfriends. Zhang Yi snorted disdainfully. So, you hooked up with him just for that little advantage? Or was I not generous when I was with you before? Xiao Qing tugged at Zhang Yi's sleeve. Hey, where are you pulling? I know you are the one who loves me the most, and you are the only one I love the most. I was just playing around with Dr. Du. Play around. Zhang Yi pulled open his sleeves. I haven't asked you yet, has he taken advantage of you in the past few days, Ho? Cheap. What do you mean? Kissing, or having sex? Zhang Yi's face darkened and he pretended to leave. Xiao Qing grabbed his arm and shook it coquettishly. Look at you, here you are again. Didn't I say it when we met last time? It's the same these days too. I think there might be something wrong with Dr. Du at best, he just holds my hand. He rarely hugs me, not to mention kissing or anything like that. Sometimes, I feel like he looks at me in a weird way, as if I'm not a woman. Anyway, I can't explain the feeling, it's quite weird. Let's not talk about me. What about you? Have you been touching that no-no these days? She's so pretty, I don't believe you're not tempted at all. It would be a lie to say that I'm not tempted. Cheng Nuo is beautiful, capable, and has a good personality. However, that was all. Although Zhang Yi and Cheng Nuo had only been in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship for more than 10 days, it was obvious that when he wanted to further express his affection and wanted to have a closer relationship with her, Cheng Nuo always gave off a distant aura. He admitted that this was also the reason why he was unwilling to break up with Cheng Nuo so quickly even if he and Xiao Qing reconciled. Men like challenges and they like to conquer. Unfortunately, Zhang Yi was too arrogant to see that Cheng Nuo was a woman he could not conquer. In front of his old love, Zhang Yi chose to pat Xiao Qing's face in a flattering way. Look at what you are thinking. The relationship between us for so many years is unmatched by others. Don't worry, I really haven't even touched her with a finger. Be good and go back quickly, don't make those two people really suspicious. Cheng and Du enjoyed the meal very much, but Zhang Yi and Xiao Qing ate with fear. At this point, Cheng Nuo decided to reach that fake marriage agreement and never waver. She undoubtedly despised men like Zhang Yi. Jiao Ming was too cunning, and seemed to have some feelings for her, but in the environment where everyone in the institute knew that she was in love with Zhang Yi, it didn't seem to affect Jiao Ming much. This state of confusion made Cheng Nuo think that it was a good opportunity to use their fake marriage to let her find out the truth. As for Cheng and Du's marriage, both parties tacitly chose to keep a low profile, while the parents of both sides made a big fanfare. Mother Cheng even went back to her hometown, City K, and personally customized a set of luxurious bridal headdresses for a Miao girl. Mother Du also went to see the most famous silversmith there and made 8 pairs of silver bracelets with different patterns and weights. As for Cheng Nuo's wedding dress, it was indeed prepared by her mother since she was born. In her hometown, there is such a custom. The dress not only has a history, but is also very valuable and extremely precious. As for new houses, I had to go to both K City and B City. In City K, he just renovated a room in the old house of the Du family since he would not live there often anyway. In City B, Du's mother seemed to have been prepared and soon bought a 2-bedroom property in the same community using Du Ju's name. There is no doubt that once the fake marriage between Cheng Nuo and Du Ju expires, the ownership of this property will belong to Cheng Nuo. Chapter 16 Reference. The wedding lasted 13 days. By then, Cheng Nuo will inevitably have to take 2 weeks of wedding leave. She and Du Ju agreed to break up at the same time after get off work the day before their wedding, and then, early the next morning, they both boarded a plane to K City. She could even imagine what kind of angry and embarrassed expression Zhang Yi would have when he learned the news. The plan of things was almost perfect. Of course, there is a small flaw, and that is Jiao Ming's side. Tell me, should I tell him about this fake marriage? After much hesitation, Cheng Nuo decided to discuss it with his good friend Zhuo. Zhuo, who had been in love twice, got to the point straight away. It depends on whether you really want to develop a relationship with him, and whether he really has that kind of interest in you now. As for the latter, Cheng Nuo was sure that even if she had never been in true love, she could still tell when a man was interested in a woman. As for the former, Cheng Nuo raised his eyes and smiled. I think we can give it a try. Zhuo shook her head. You sound a little irresponsible. Honestly, Nuo, after such a long time, can you still find the feeling you had for him in high school? Cheng Nuo lowered his eyes slightly. The feeling of first love. You know, at that time, the whole class was talking about what happened between me and him. What about the facts? He really took good care of me. We discussed chemical equations, physical mechanics, and other topics together. Zhuo couldn't bear it anymore and interrupted her. Nuo, don't tell me this is love. Cheng Nuo grinned, smiling somewhat roguishly. To me, this is the most special thing. Zhuo rolled her eyes. Love idiot. Har har. Cheng Nuo innocently accepted the slander. Love. The feeling of first love. How could she not know? However, as long as she is unwilling to admit it, no one can dig into her heart. It will only make Gao Ming suffer, and he will just be a shield in vain. As for Gao Ming, he was indeed the male classmate who left the deepest impression on Cheng Nuo, except for someone else. I still remember that the day before Gao Ming was going to transfer to another school, before evening self-study, he called her out of the classroom and took her to the uneven bars in the playground. That night, they chatted for so long that they didn't even go to the first evening study session. That was the only time Cheng Nuo skipped class in her life. Because of this, Gao Ming's status in her heart continued to rise. Also because the two top students in the elite class both skipped classes, Gao Ming naturally became Cheng Nuo's boyfriend, and Cheng Nuo naturally regarded him as his first love. In fact, Cheng Nuo couldn't really remember what they talked about that night. She just remembered that Gao Ming left her 2 chemistry exercise books before he left. At that time, chemistry was her weakest subject. The 2 chemistry exercise books stayed in her school bag for only 2 or 3 hours before Duju threw them into the bucket. When they were fished out, they were wet and looked horrible. Because of this, Cheng Nuo was so angry that he ignored Duju for a whole week. Apart from these, there is probably not much else that Cheng Nuo can recall about Gao Ming. However, there is one thing that is the reason why Cheng Nuo is willing to try this quasi-love. Gao Ming has feelings for her, no matter how deep, at least, deeper than she feels for him. Cheng Nuo doesn't like to take the initiative in the game of love. In other words, she doesn't like to give more than the other person. Deep in her heart, there is a secret that no one knows. Cheng Nuo was sure that Duju didn't like her because he never hesitated to go straight for the women he liked. Moreover, the most important thing was a past event deep in her memory. Whenever she wanted to indulge her emotions, this past would be brought up from time to time to remind her of her rationality. Looking back now, Cheng Nuo still feels that it was fate that made her leave her English textbook in Duju's school bag, and it was also fate that made her choose to go to Duju to get it back at that time. Brother, I really like that little girl just now. Back then, Duju, the gangster leader, was doing well and had many followers, so many people would often say hello to Cheng Nuo, but Cheng Nuo had no idea who they were. However, Cheng Nuo did have an impression of the guy who said this. On several occasions, this guy had been hanging around the door of her classroom with a cigarette in his mouth. Which one? Duju, who was smoking a cigarette at this time, spoke incoherently. The younger brother said excitedly, "She's the one who just gave you the school bag. She's always rude to you, but she always comes out to protect you at critical moments. I think she's pretty, and most importantly, she has personality." Duju thought for a moment, frowned and asked, "You mean Nuo?" "Yes, it's Nuo." The younger brother laughed out loud, as if he was talking about something happy. Duju took the cigarette out of his mouth, threw it hard on the ground, and stamped out the cigarette butt with his foot. Did you call her Nuo? I'm telling you, you're not worthy of her, give up. Don't even think about it, no one here is worthy of her. Brother, no way, does that include you? Me? TSK, let me tell you, in my heart, Nuo is just a buddy, not a woman. She's not my type, but just because I don't like her doesn't mean you will like her. She's not only my buddy, she's more like my sister. The combined achievements of all of you aren't even half as good as hers, and you're trying to get close to her like a toad wanting to eat swan meat. In short, all of you, don't pick on her. Don't even touch her finger. No, don't even think about it. Hearing this, Cheng Nuo left. On their way back to the classroom, she recalled the memory over and over again, with a smile on her lips that she didn't even know why, as if she was mocking herself, but also as if she was relieved. Duju didn't like her, she was just his brother or sister. As for that first kiss before, har har. Cheng Nuo raised his head and the smile on his face grew wider. Perhaps, no one noticed her change, but she herself knew that from then on, she was cooler to Duju, and even cooler. Pretended not to care about him. Even though the memory has been turned over for the umpteenth time, Cheng Nuo still feels that it is extremely useful for reference. She brushed her bangs back on her forehead and turned the topic back to Gao Ming. I know that it's not very credible to tell Gao Ming so abruptly that I want to have a fake marriage. It clearly shows that I took the initiative, but if I don't say it, I'm afraid I'll regret it in the future if I let such a good man go. Chapter 17, Extramarital Affair, do you support it? Zhuamaimai gave her a suggestion, invite him to dinner and tell him that you are getting married. See his reaction. If Cheng Nuo is very insightful. By this point in the conversation, she already knows what to do. 2 words, temptation. 2 days before the wedding, Cheng Nuo made an appointment with Gao Ming. The reason was to thank him for transferring him out of his original department, giving him more room for development. There were only 2 people at the dinner table, but Gao Ming still ordered some wine jinjiu. Seeing this reddish brown liquid, Cheng Nuo couldn't help but feel a little disgusted. I didn't expect that Gao Ming, at such a young age, would have such troubles. Would you like some? Gao Ming looked at Cheng Nuo's shining eyes with amusement. Cheng Nuo laughed dryly and refused. It's anti-fatigue and very suitable for people like us who often go to the testing site. Gao Ming's explanation sounded a bit too obvious to Cheng Nuo. She waved her hands and still refused. How about a cold beer? Cheng Nuo thought about it and decided that as their host, he should drink with the guests, so he nodded. Before the dishes were served, the 2 of them started drinking, one red and one yellow. Are you adapting to the work in the testing department? Gao Ming was the first to start a conversation, but his tone sounded a bit like that of a leader. Cheng Nuo was quite disgusted by this in her heart. To her, you can act as cool as you want at work, but now is your private time. However, Gao Ming is still young after all. He is in his 20s and has just become a minor official. Naturally, he is eager to be recognized. With this mentality, Cheng Nuo believes that even if she were to sit in that position, she might not be able to handle it better than him. After swallowing his complaints, Cheng Nuo added some politeness and distance to his tone. It's okay. I'm familiar with it. It's the same in every department. You have the skills, so being an expert in the testing department is really easy for you. Gao Ming glanced at Cheng Nuo's face seemingly casually. Although he had just graduated and he was not very worldly, his family background was there, and reading people's expressions had already become an instinct for him. He smiled lightly and changed the subject casually. Expert Cheng invited me to dinner. I'm a little flattered. To be honest, when you first asked me out, I thought you remembered what you said to you the night before I left in the 2nd year of high school, and you came to fulfill your promise. The topic changed subtly. Cheng Nuo didn't find it strange at all, and was naturally drawn into Gao Ming's thoughts. What promise? Gao Ming lowered his eyes, picked up the pocket glass in front of him, drank it all in one gulp, and then chuckled. Are you and Zhang Yi from the Human Resources Department boyfriend and girlfriend? The topic changed again, but this kind of light-hearted topic was more suitable for tonight's theme. I guess so. I heard that you've only been dating for a dozen days. Yeah, isn't it? Gao knew the details of the matter, but it didn't mean that he paid special attention to her, because this matter was not a secret in the institute. Not only that, it was also a topic that was often talked about. Gao Ming tilted his head. I thought, your boyfriend was Duju. Sooner or later we will have to talk about Duju. Now that Gao Ming had brought it up, Cheng Nuo was happy to continue. Actually, Duju. Cheng Nuo paused to think about how to talk about marriage naturally. Gao Ming thought that she was thinking about how to define the relationship between him and Duju, so he smiled and said, I know that you 2 grew up together. How do you describe it in one word? Childhood sweethearts. Cheng Nuo nodded, finding the next opportunity. Indeed, our 2 families are from the same hometown, separated by only one village, and have had a good relationship since my grandfather's generation. So, although my parents have never said anything clearly, I can see that they have long wanted to link me and Duju together. Gao Ming was not jealous. When Cheng Nuo finished the last sentence, he sensitively asked, what is the truth? Cheng Nuo chuckled, I wanted to keep it a secret for a few days, but since you've asked me this much, I won't hide it anymore. In fact, I might really want to, get married to Duju. Get married. Gao Ming curled his lips, his fingers unconsciously sliding over the edge of the wine glass, probably wanting to pick it up, but he put it down again after picking it up. He raised his eyes and uttered 2 words in a very gentlemanly manner, congratulations. In fact, Gao Ming's expression didn't change much, but somehow, when Cheng Nuo's eyes met his, an indescribable emotion rippled in her heart. She thought inexplicably at that time, putting aside the one who didn't care about her, in the past 11 years, there seemed to be no one else who was interested in her except the one in front of her who could be remembered by her. How many 11 years can a person have in his life? If he missed this one again? Cheng Nuo was inexplicably afraid of being punished by God. She suddenly picked up the glass of beer in front of her and drank it all in one gulp, enjoying the coolness. Par. The wine glass landed on the table with a loud thump. Cheng Nuo looked back into Gao Ming's dark eyes and waved his hand. There's nothing to congratulate. He has no love for me. This marriage is fake. Cheng Nuo didn't lie, he just covered up a little fact. Du Ju has no love for her, and as for her feelings towards Du Ju, oh, she has the right to remain silent on the issue. In Gao Ming's opinion, fake marriage is unbelievable. Cheng Nuo explained. As for whether the other party really understood, she didn't delve into it. In short, she made her position clear in a stern manner, that's it. You can think I'm crazy, but after 2 months, please treat me as a normal person again. Gao Ming laughed and raised his glass. Well, I wish you a double success in advance. Cheng Nuo clinked glasses with him, took a sip, and blinked. The question of a second spring is a little far-fetched. If I have an extramarital affair, do you support it? This is already a test. If Gao Ming is interested in her and is smart, he will not miss this opportunity. In fact, Gao Ming did not disappoint Cheng Nuo. Whether you support it or not depends on the conditions of the person you are having an affair with. As for those in our unit, of course, apart from Zhang Yi, I'm afraid the quality of the people in the whole unit is not that bad. The most important thing is that our unit is close to the water tower. Gao Ming smiled. That depends on which department you are from. Our department is even closer to home. There are 8 or 9 men in our department. Cheng Nuo poked his index finger upwards. Leaders, although my standards are not high, I can't just settle for ordinary stuff. Apart from the director, Gao Ming is the only person left in the leadership of the inspection department. The director is a 30-year-old man who is less than 1.6 meters tall. He got to his position entirely by relying on his uncle-nephew relationship with the deputy director of the Quality Supervision Bureau. Not to mention the man's ability, his appearance is extremely vulgar. Not to mention that Cheng Nuo looks down on him, I'm afraid Feng Jie will have to think twice. Chapter 18 Pretend. Gao Ming couldn't help laughing after using the process of elimination. He held his forehead and lowered his head to control his emotions. When he raised his head again, a smile flashed in his black eyes. I still have to ask, is there a chance for the one who had the affair to make things right? Gao Ming had been talking in a subtle way until now, and Cheng Nuo didn't intend to be pretentious. She snapped her fingers and replied in a somewhat vulgar tone, it's not easy to be an underground worker. After the revolution succeeds, they will definitely be awarded medals. Even the royal police will be promoted after being an undercover agent. Yuan Fang, what do you think? This time, Gao Ming couldn't help but sneered, interesting. After dinner, I'll take you home. It will be considered as the first contribution to the revolutionary cause. While Cheng Nuo was satisfied with having solved a major life event, Du Ju also prepared a prelude to his upcoming revenge against Pan Qingqing. On the same night, Du Ju and Xiao Qing had dinner. After paying the bill, he threw the keys of his Toyota Camry to Xiao Qing and said, I'm waiting for the invoice. You go and drive first. Tonight, I'm going to fulfill my promise. Holding the car key, Xiao Qing intuitively thought of the request she once made to Du Ju. She was overjoyed, thinking that Dr. Du was indeed generous to his girlfriend. Xiao Qing drove the car happily. Just as she sat in the driver's seat and her butt was not even warm yet, Du Ju came over and waved at the open window. Can you drive? Xiao Qing nodded. Do you have a driver's license? Continue nodding. Did you bring your driver's license? Xiao Qing didn't understand and shook her head. Du Ju said with a half smile, things like driving are better done by men. Girls can just play with this. As he said that, he handed over a beautifully packaged box. Xiao Qing was stunned for a moment, took the box, and was shouted out by Du Ju from the driver's seat and moved to the passenger seat. Her thoughts were still on Du Ju's previous words, but she couldn't understand them. Sometimes, Dr. Du's words were really mysterious. Du Ju started the engine and glanced at her calmly. Hey, why don't you open it? I fulfilled my promise, but you don't seem to be happy at all. Promise. Xiao Qing raised the box. Du Ju grinned. Yes, that's what you want. Xiao Qing became more and more confused. She opened the box and found a very delicate remote-controlled car toy inside. Do you like it? Du Ju pretended to be innocent and smiled even more. If you don't know how to play, I can teach you. Xiao Qing was a little furious, but until now, she couldn't tell whether Du Ju was sincere or just teasing her. I don't know if he was naive or her words were too weak. Did Du Ju really think that when she asked him to give her a car, it was just a joke? Cheng Nuo did not refuse Gao Ming's kindness. She sat in the passenger seat of the Dongfeng Nissan, touched the car body with ill intentions, and had a somewhat obscene fantasy. Perhaps, in the near future, she would be its mistress. Thinking of this, Cheng Nuo found it funny and actually chuckled twice. Gao Ming put the car in gear and tilted his head to look at her curiously. What are you thinking about? Cheng Nuo naturally wouldn't tell him the truth, so she just answered casually, no, I just saw a rat crossing the street, and I was wondering why no one was shouting and beating it. It seems that the teachings of the ancients are not all correct. Well, Gao Ming didn't know how to respond. Miss Cheng told him a joke that made him wonder whether to laugh in agreement or sigh. After 10 years, they, who were once both top students, seemed to have a generation gap. After thinking for a long time, he decided to skip it and said, you haven't moved yet. Gao Ming changed his words in time. I remember we were heading towards Changle Road before, so we didn't change the place. He couldn't say that he had really followed her to the downstairs of her house several times. Cheng Nuo smiled and said, you have a really good memory, as evidenced by the fact that you remember Du Ju. However, my family has moved to a new neighborhood and now lives on Jianxi Road. Gao Ming nodded and found the road sign. From the moment Cheng Nuo mentioned moving, he had already thought of a certain question, but the words were stuck in his throat. After holding them in for a few minutes, he finally gave up. Did Du Ju move there too? Cheng Nuo raised his eyebrows and smiled innocently. You are amazing. His family has also moved, right across from our house. There is nothing we can do. The relationship between our parents is too good. When they come across a good property, they will tell each other. If we want to buy, we will buy together, and if we want to move, we will move together. Miss Cheng smiled heartlessly. As to whether she was really innocent or just pretending, only she knew it. In short, although this answer made Gao Ming depressed for a while, he felt a little relieved because of her expression at that moment. After this topic was over, there was a moment of silence in the car. The result of silence is awkwardness. Gao Ming coughed lightly and tried to find a topic to talk about. Cheng Nuo. You keep in touch with your high school classmates, right? Not very often. After entering college, most of us went our separate ways. Now the two who are in contact most often. You also saw them on the day we first met. Who else could it be except Zhumaimai and Du Ju? This was not what Gao Ming cared about. He seemed to evade the question, and unconsciously glanced at the rearview mirror before moving back. Do you remember what I promised you the night before I transferred to another school in the second year of high school? Cheng Nuo was confused. She remembered the issue of promise he talked about during the previous meal, but unfortunately, she really had no impression of it. Before she could answer, Gao Ming laughed and said, it's okay if you don't remember. Actually, I can't remember clearly either. Yeah. After going around in circles, they came to another awkward topic. Fortunately, they soon arrived at where Cheng Nuo lived. As the saying goes, enemies will always meet again. Cheng Nuo had just got off the car downstairs in the residential area. Before she had time to say a word to Gao Ming, two headlights suddenly shone from a distance, blinding her. Just when Cheng Nuo wanted to rush over and pull the person out, the lights went out. The instant darkness made her blind for a while. She muttered in a low voice, Damn Du Ju. Gao Ming, who was standing opposite her, narrowed his eyes and said, it's really him. This was a tacit understanding that even Cheng Nuo was not aware of. From the two car lights, she could guess who the person was. Du Ju got out of the car, closed the door, put his hands in his trouser pockets, and did not move forward. Instead, he leaned against the car body and whistled frivolously in the direction of Cheng Nuo. Oh, tall and talented man, what a coincidence. Gao Ming didn't want to waste time talking to someone like Du Ju, so he said to Cheng Nuo, thank you for treating me tonight, see you tomorrow. Chapter 19 The Bride and the Cake. Cheng Nuo smiled. Gao Ming wanted to turn around and leave, but he always felt a little unwilling to leave like this. After hesitating for a while, he stood in front of Du Ju, stretched out his arms, hugged Cheng Nuo in the air, and left for a short while. Cheng Nuo was also a little confused, his body stiffened, and he even forgot to say goodbye. Du Ju walked over with an expressionless face, while Gao Ming's car passed by him, raising a cloud of dust. When he approached Cheng Nuo came back to her senses. Without saying hello, she turned around and left. But before she took a step, Du Ju grabbed her wrist. What? Cheng Nuo frowned, thinking that Du Ju must be sick again. His steel claws really hurt her. Du Ju didn't smile, his expression was very grim. No is really capable, he can handle Gao Bailian by himself without my help. Cheng Nuo said, if you want to hurt me, please take your hands away first. Du Ju didn't agree, but leaned forward a little, staring at Cheng Nuo's face, and even his voice became gloomy. I don't care whether you and Gao Bailian are in love or not. Anyway, in the 2 months of fake marriage with me, keep a low profile, no matter what you two do behind my back, just don't let me see it, don't let our parents see it, and don't let people who know us see it, then you can do whatever you want, even if you are just pretending, you can't cheat on me in these 2 months. Cheng Nuo snorted and laughed, actually, isn't this better? If something bad happens, our divorce won't be too abrupt for our parents. Childish. Du Ju drooled all over her face. What was the purpose of our fake marriage? Wasn't it to make Zhang Yi and Xiao Qing regret it so much that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall? How come now it's spread that you cheated on me just 2 days after we got married? They are not regretting it at all, but are gloating over our misfortune. Cheng Nuo exaggeratedly showed a look of realization, raised his thumb, and bowed down in admiration. Brother Dudu, I didn't expect you to be so thoughtful. Such an ordinary mind actually contains great wisdom. Du Ju felt a chill and got goosebumps all over his body, and subconsciously let go of her wrist. Cheng Nuo probably stopped calling him Brother Dudu when he was about 6 or 7 years old, but now he picked up the name again. Du Ju shook his head, and inevitably shuddered again. Don't be ridiculous, do you understand? Cheng Nuo nodded, like a chick pecking at rice. I understand. I will definitely keep a low profile. When you authorize me, I will be high profile. Du Ju was silent, having understood the implication of Cheng Nuo's words. She and Gao Ming really had some kind of relationship that he didn't know about. At this time, Cheng Nuo and Du Ju had already boarded the plane to City K. The next day, their 13-day wedding officially began. As for how Zhang Yi knew about her request for marriage leave, it seemed unimportant to Cheng Nuo. Besides, she had no time to think about such questions. Because, Du Ju has been talking non-stop about the details of the wedding since he boarded the plane. Looking at the man next to him who was talking non-stop, Cheng Nuo wondered if he was getting married for the second time. After returning to K-City and smelling the familiar atmosphere of his hometown, Cheng Nuo realized that although he seemed to be relaxed and comfortable every day in the Quality Supervision Bureau these years, he was very tired in his heart. Director Kong was not wrong, she was indeed ambitious, and in an environment where one had to rely on connections to get promoted, she really took great pains to remain low-key and effectively win popularity. No one could see the calculation behind her innocent and carefree smile, and no one knew how much effort she had put in to find out the preferences of her leaders. Unfortunately, when she competed for the position, she still failed and lost to Gao Ming, who had only been in the job for 2 days. This fact further proves that to get around in government agencies, one needs connections. Now, Cheng Nuo and Gao Ming have both tacitly agreed to a certain relationship that is about to develop, but only Cheng Nuo himself knows that there is a lot of selfishness in this decision. When she arrived in K-City, the situation did not allow her to recall anything about City B, because after getting off the car, Du Ju held her hand all the way. According to custom, the most grand 2 days of the 13-day wedding are the last 2 days. However, during the first 11 days, the bride cannot return to her parents' home and can only stay at the groom's home. She can only return to her parents' home on the last day. As for dressing up, it is all handled by their husband's family. To the Du family, Cheng Nuo was someone they had watched grow up and they had always treated her like their daughter. Mother Du had already placed the bridal dress, headdress and other items prepared by Mother Cheng in the house. When Cheng Nuo entered the Du family, before she had even had a few minutes rest, Mother Du enthusiastically asked her to change into the bridal dress, because, according to the rules, from the next day on, the girl would have to wear this dress when going in and out of every household in the village. What are you going to do? Have a meal. It's about having a meal, because it's a wedding, the whole village celebrates together, and each household prepares food to show congratulations. Cheng Nuo once did a rough calculation and found that there were probably hundreds of households in the village that had some kind of relationship with each other. Excluding the grand wedding in the last 2 days, eating hundreds of meals in 11 days was a terrifying thing to think about. While Cheng Nuo was complaining, Mother Du and second Aunt Du had already dressed her together. Wearing a silver helmet weighing several kilograms, bracelets on her wrists, and a dog collar around her neck, Cheng Nuo dared not move. To be more precise, it was difficult for her to move because it was too heavy. Thinking that she would have to eat everywhere wearing this outfit starting tomorrow, she was absolutely sure that after a few days, she would either eat until she felt like vomiting or suffer from severe cervical spondylosis. Mother Du looked at her with a smile, very satisfied. The second aunt of the Du family looked at her happily and was very satisfied. At this time, after greeting the relatives outside, Du Ju walked into the bridal chamber and saw at a glance a fancy-dressed guy sitting there surrounded by people. When he squeezed in, he saw Cheng Nuo, dressed appropriately, surrounded in the middle, sitting on the edge of the bed. She rarely restrained her overbearing little pores, and was quiet and petite. Du Ju smiled and stared at her intently. As soon as he came in, Cheng Nuo saw him. She blushed a little at being looked at. She subconsciously tugged at the corner of her clothes and laughed dryly at Du Ju. Is it weird? Du Ju walked up to her, looked her up and down, and then grinned. Beautiful. Du Ju spitted a few drops of saliva, even on Cheng Nuo's face. Cheng Nuo wiped his face in disgust. Hate it, don't dirty my wedding dress. Du Ju sat down next to her. Nuo, don't take it off. Wear it like this from now on, for the rest of your life. When you're hungry, you can nibble on the silver bracelet on your wrist, or bend down and take a bite of the silver collar. If you feel hard, I'll make you a big pancake and put it around your neck. Chapter 20, Entrance Wine. Cheng Nuo heard this and resisted the urge to roll his eyes. How wicked. Why don't you try wearing it? It's easier to talk while standing. The second aunt of the Du family laughed and joked, No, Dudu is just envious. He wants to wear it, but he has no chance. Cheng Nuo laughed in agreement. It was hard to say whether Du Ju was praising or criticizing her. Just based on the big pancake around his neck, she had to think about it in her heart. During the day, the division of labor between Cheng Nuo and Du Ju was very clear. Cheng Nuo eats and Du Ju cooks. Cheng Nuo wore gold and silver and went from house to house to eat, eating until he felt sick and wanted to vomit. Du Ju helped to slaughter pigs and sheep and cook. After a busy day, he was often starving. At night, Cheng Nuo was helping to cut window paper cuts for the new house, while Du Ju was sitting and drinking with some relatives who had arrived early. According to the rules, she and Du Ju could not sleep together until the night Cheng Nuo returned home. Before that, she had to be accompanied by a female companion from the Du family, or she could sleep alone in the bridal chamber. On that first night, something went wrong. Mother Du was afraid that Cheng Nuo would be shy, so she let her sleep alone in the bridal chamber on the first night. Cheng Nuo, who had eaten more than 10 meals a day, was already very sleepy. After Mother Du left the bridal chamber, she closed the door, carefully took off her crown, dress, and bra, and was about to change into the silk pajamas she brought with her when, bang, the door was pushed open from the outside. Cheng Nuo was startled and subconsciously tried to put her head into her pajamas, but her head was stuck in the sleeves and the pajamas hung crookedly around her neck. She thought it was Mother Du or a female member of the Du family, but she saw Du Ju, who was a little drunk, rushing in. Cheng Nuo was really panicked now, and hurriedly pulled the pajamas towards his buttocks, but since his head was in the wrong position, how could he pull the pajamas towards his buttocks? She turned her back and hurriedly pulled off her pajamas while blushing as she said to the person behind her, You get out first. Du Ju's unclear voice came from behind, You've had too much to drink. Let me lie down first. Go out first, for 1 minute, just 1 minute. Look at you, you are so stupid. Your collar is open. You don't know how to dress at your age. Isn't it embarrassing? Du Ju muttered something, sounding nonchalant, but Cheng Nuo could no longer endure it. The scream was so sudden that Du Ju took 2 steps back in shock. Just as he stood still, the door was pushed open again. What's wrong? What's up? Auntie, why are you screaming? At once, almost all the female members of the family rushed in, including Du Ju's 6-year-old niece. While she was hurriedly changing her clothes, the female members of the family also understood the situation on the scene. There was no doubt that Du Ju immediately became the focus of attack. "Oh, you naughty child, didn't I tell you that you can't enter her room before going home?" This was the voice of Du's mother. "Yes, get out quickly. Dudu is becoming more and more useless as he grows up." This was the voice of the second aunt of the Du family. "Okay, if you're still standing there, come out quickly. It's just a dozen days, can't you wait?" This was from the cousin of the Du family. Silence, the silence before the laughter. The one who interrupted the silence was Du Ju. He walked slowly to his niece and patted her head, smiling at Cheng Nuo. "Who knows her? Why are you making such a fuss? It's not like you haven't seen her before." Someone chuckled. Cheng Nuo clenched his fists and really wanted to punch Du Ju in the face. What did he mean by, "it's not like he's never seen it before"? When did he see it? When? It was Mother Du who noticed Cheng Nuo's embarrassment and slapped her son on the shoulder. "Come on, you've had a few drinks and you don't know where you are. You rascal, get out now." Just like that, Du Ju was thrown out like a drowned dog. And Cheng Nuo was still gritting her teeth secretly. She had made note of this money today, and would extort a breach of agreement fee from him later. Seeing Cheng Nuo's blushing face, Mother Du thought she was shy. "Nuo, if you can't sleep well by yourself, why don't you let Xiaoye accompany you?" Xiaoye is Du Ju's niece who has not yet officially started primary school. Cheng Nuo couldn't refuse. The little girl was even more excited and said, "I want to sleep with my aunt." What a sociable child. 5 minutes later, Cheng Nuo went to bed with peace of mind, with Xiaoye's thin and short body lying beside him. The little girl blinked her eyes and said, "Aunt, tell me a story." Cheng Nuo was eager to try. "Okay, what story do you want to hear?" By the 12th day, Cheng Nuo was only half alive. But on this day, the physical fatigue was half dispelled by the spiritual excitement, because on the 12th day of the wedding, people from my wife's family came. Cheng Nuo didn't understand before why married women always shed a few tears that seemed to be gone forever, but now she understood. "Although I have been away from my family before, and sometimes for longer periods of time, the feeling is different after all." During these 11 days, when she was alone at her husband's house without seeing her parents, she was too busy to deliberately feel her loneliness. But now, when her father, mother and aunt appeared in her sight in their best clothes, her tears welled up in her eyes. Pretentious. But she couldn't control it. Mother Cheng's eyes also turned red, and no one could tell why. In such a situation, tears seemed to be an inevitable tool to express emotions. A red handkerchief appeared in his sight. Cheng Nuo took it with tears in his eyes and wiped it on his face casually. "Thank you." Chapter 21, Wedding Night. "Hey, why are you so polite to your own husband?" When Du Ju said this, she was cocky in her tone but her eyes were warm. "Husband?" Cheng Nuo was stunned for a moment. She looked at Du Ju, then at the bright red silk handkerchief in her hand. Her previous sadness suddenly disappeared. She was a little upset. "You actually carry this thing with you?" Du Ju showed disdain on his face. "How dare you say that? This is your responsibility. The bride has to prepare red handkerchiefs. Today, they are to be given to the children who want wedding candies. I know you don't have this common sense, so I prepared them for you. Nuo, you have wasted all these years of study. You don't even know how to be grateful. Come on, keep these handkerchiefs for yourself. When the little girls come to make trouble later, give each of them one." Cheng Nuo blinked her eyes and saw Du Ju pulling out red handkerchiefs one after another from his suit trousers as if performing magic. After a while, he pulled out a large pile of handkerchiefs. She couldn't help but start to wonder how deep the pockets of Du Ju's suit trousers were. Cheng Nuo was now wearing a wedding dress that didn't even have a pocket. She was holding the pile of handkerchiefs stupidly. Du Ju looked at her and sighed helplessly. "Come on, don't look so pitiful like a puppy. Come on, I'll hold it for you first. Call me when you need it." After saying this, he kicked the handkerchiefs back into his pocket one by one, then walked away and began to greet guests in a high-profile manner. At this moment, Cheng Nuo only had a red handkerchief in her hand, the same one she had used to wipe her tears. She stared at the red handkerchief with a faint smile on her lips. No matter what, Du Ju is really considerate. For a newly married couple's new house, everyone starts to be cleared out at around 8 a.m., and everyone has to go out to the yard. After that, if anyone wants to enter the house again, they must drink the rice wine in the 2 ox horns at the door. Including all the guests, even the newlyweds Cheng Nuo and Du Ju. But who doesn't he want to visit a new house? If you want to visit, you have to drink. Not only that, even the morning dinner with their husband's family and their wife's family was also eaten in the living room of the new house. In other words, no one could escape the drinking. Even the big black dog at home had to be fed a few sips before entering the house. When Cheng Nuo wanted to step into the room again, 2 large ox horns full of rice wine were placed in front of her. Her legs went weak. 2 large ox horns must weigh at least 4 or 5 taels. Cheng Nuo has a low alcohol tolerance and is slightly allergic, so her face turns red when she drinks. The videographer hired by Du's mother happened to be holding a huge camera and pointing it directly at her little face, causing a lot of booing from the surroundings. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Cheng Nuo could not resist the public anger, and tremblingly brought the bull horn to her lips. Just when it was about to touch her lips, 2 big hands stretched out from the side, took the bull horns in her hands, and poured them into their mouths without saying a word. Now, the booing became even louder. Even though Cheng Nuo didn't drink, her face turned red. She thought to herself, Du Ju, this guy, relies on his good alcohol tolerance to show off, huh? Even if he was secretly malicious in his heart, the smile on Cheng Nuo's face could not deceive anyone. Someone said, "Oh, this groom loves his bride so much that it goes deep into his heart." The booing turned into laughter. Cheng Nuo raised his eyes with great difficulty to look at Du Ju, and so that guy had drunk 2 horns of wine, wiped the corner of his mouth casually, and his expression was as playful and self-assured as always, completely unaffected by his surroundings. Cheng Nuo could only understand Du Ju in one way, that is, just as he said, he treated her as his sister. The brother loves his sister. There's nothing wrong with that. The words Cheng Nuo heard most often that day were, "Look at this perfect couple, and they are such a perfect match." In short, it means that she and Du Ju are a good match. Cheng Nuo's ears were calloused from listening to all this, but Mother Cheng and Mother Du were so happy to be bombarded with these sugar-coated bullets that they didn't even know how to restrain themselves and just agreed with them. "Yes, I have watched Mo Nuo grow up since she was a child, and I have regarded her as my wife for a long time." That's right. It's hard to find a son-in-law like Dudu who is good-looking, capable, and good at his job. In the early years, Dudu was ignorant and got into a lot of romantic debts, but now, he has turned over a new leaf and knows that the best is right beside him. Nuo has never brought any boyfriends home. I thought she was stupid, but it turns out she has been thinking about this guy for a long time. Speaking of these 2 children, they are really destined to be together and have a deep relationship. They fell in love with each other when they were in kindergarten. That's right, we even wore the same pair of pants in kindergarten. Yes, hey, Sister Minute, what happened then? Oh, it's like this. Dudu wet his pants, and then our Nuo, blah blah. Cheng Nuo was speechless and Du Ju also collapsed. Cheng Nuo was afraid that the 2 mothers would get happy and bring up the old history from more than 20 years ago. He was on guard against it in every way, but in the end they kept talking about it and were so excited. It seemed that Mother Du didn't think it was a shameful thing for her son at all, and her voice was even louder than Mother Cheng's. Cheng Nuo secretly glanced at Du Ju beside him, feeling somewhat gloating. Du Ju happened to catch this glance. He raised his eyebrows and gritted his teeth. "Why, are you happy?" Cheng Nuo curled his lip subtly, but his tone was humble. "How could that be possible? I was also involved in that matter. To be honest, I have been regretting it all these years. I should have let you stay naked until school was over." Du Ju listened, his face twisted a little. "Cheng Nuo, if you are smart, you should behave yourself today. After all, this is my home ground. Don't blame me for not protecting you when we make trouble in the bridal chamber tonight." Making trouble in the bridal chamber? Cheng Nuo's face froze. He had never thought of this happening. That. Beg for mercy now? It's too late. Du Ju said proudly. Cheng Nuo laughed dryly. "Brother Dudu." Du Ju responded by rubbing the goosebumps off his arms, then turned and left. Cheng Nuo stood there in shock, thinking of what she had seen on a post. During the bridal chamber, the groom, under the instigation of the crowd, used his mouth to help the bride take off her underwear. Thinking of this, she shuddered, then looked at her conservative Miao wedding dress and felt that it shouldn't be that exaggerated. From ancient times to the present, it is impossible not to exaggerate that the bridal chamber prank has been the greatest entertainment for guests on wedding night. Although K-City has its own customs, with the reform and opening up, it has already absorbed some of the bridal chamber rules of other ethnic groups, and is surpassing them. Chapter 22. The bridal chamber prank is just a fun thing for friends and relatives, so Cheng Nuo knows that if he acts pretentiously, the people who will be most embarrassed might be the parents of the Cheng and Du families. Fortunately, the Cheng family and the Du family are also prominent families in K-City, and no one would suggest any obscene ways to disturb the bridal chamber. That night, after eating and drinking, except for those who were still drunk, everyone sat cross-legged in the courtyard, singing to each other one by one, while others who loved to join in the fun gathered in the bridal chamber. Under the arrangement of Mother Du, they started with the most harmonious wedding bed. Several cousins of the Du family prepared several plates of chestnuts, dates, peanuts, longans, etc., and sprinkled them gently on Cheng Nuo, who was sitting on the bed, singing meow songs at the same time. Cheng Nuo knew that this was nothing more than a wish for a son to be born soon. At the beginning, several cousins were scattering dried fruits gently, but someone picked up a handful of peanuts and threw them on Cheng Nuo, and the scene began to get a little chaotic, especially the children, who grabbed and threw peanuts without knowing the importance of the fruits, making Cheng Nuo's head and face covered with them. In this situation, you can't get angry. Cheng Nuo smiled stiffly, trying to ward off as many as she could. Later, a guy in a neat suit stood in front of her. He blocked her body, deflected the nuts that were thrown at her, and scolded the kids in a voice that he couldn't tell whether it was a laugh or an insult. Cheng Nuo was very unkind and hid her whole body behind him, thinking that this guy looked quite thin, but actually had a quite broad back. Hey, didn't he say that he would come to protect her? The children were not dispersed until all the plates of dried fruits were spread out. The children were satisfied, but the adults were not. They thought it was child's play to hang an apple and let the two of them bite it. From hanging apples, hanging red dates, and even someone hanging a raisin for Cheng Nuo and the others to bite. Seeing the raisins hanging with a red string, Cheng Nuo wanted to twitch his lips. What's the difference between this and letting her and Du Ju kiss openly? I don't know which male relative took the apples and red dates and held the raisin. Come on, Dudu, there are many exciting programs later. Let's start with the raisin now. Don't say anything. I know what you want to say. We just want to see the bride kiss you. Come on. Amid the laughter of the crowd, Du Ju turned around and faced Cheng Nuo's little face. Cheng Nuo glared at him, his eyes signaling, "Are you really coming? Don't forget, they are now in a fake marriage." Du Ju stared back at her, lowering his voice and squeezing out a few words from between his teeth, "Just pretend." The exquisite raisins caught the sight of the two. Cheng Nuo wanted to swallow the tiny thing in one gulp. Just as she was thinking this, she saw Du Ju open his mouth and swallow the raisin in one gulp. Cheng Nuo was startled, and then she saw Du Ju raise his arm and grab the back of her neck, while his handsome face pressed towards her. The moment their lips touched, the room erupted in laughter, accompanied by applause and booing. Kiss longer, kiss longer. Seeing that the situation was not just a pretense, Cheng Nuo wanted to withdraw, but Du Ju's hand hooked around her neck, restraining her with great force. Not only that, he seemed to sense her unwillingness to cooperate and even pinched her butt. The booing around continued. Nuo Nuo will have to wear that dress when she returns home tomorrow, so it's not convenient to play too many tricks with it. If you have any tricks, just come at me. After that, Cheng Nuo was like a bystander, with a smile on her lips all the time. But only she knew that she might have lost her five senses. Everything in front of her eyes was blurry, and the sounds in her ears were far away. The only thing she could feel was her own heartbeat, which never calmed down. The bride's return home can be said to be the most grand day of the 13-day wedding. The returning procession started from Du Ju's home and walked all their way to Cheng Nuo's hometown. In the front row stood the bride and groom holding hands, followed by the best man and bridesmaids in equally gorgeous attire. In addition to holding their significant others, each of these four people also held a 7 or 8-year-old girl wearing the same meow costume. In the back, there was a dance troupe playing musical instruments, a band, and a float loaded with betrothal gifts from the in-laws family. This behavior of openly displaying betrothal gifts is a custom of meow weddings. Of course, if we must say something unpleasant, it can also be regarded as a way of showing off wealth, letting others know that the family has used so much assets to marry a daughter-in-law. Similarly, when the bride returns home that night, the bride's in-laws will also bring back the dowry given by her parents in the same way and display it in the new house. Very high profile, and without hiding anything. When he arrived at Cheng Nuo's territory, Cheng Nuo was completely relieved. Everywhere he looked were his close and distant relatives, and Du Ju's hard times had just begun. Entering the new house is a must for drinking oxhorn wine. When Du Ju stepped into their house and found the long table that was 7 or 8 meters long, his legs became weak, and Cheng Nuo was also worried for him. This is the Miao ethnic group's long table banquet. You and your relatives and friends sitting opposite you need to compete in drinking songs. Whoever can't sing will be fined. Du Ju was quickly pushed to a seat. The person sitting opposite him was a middle-aged woman in her 40s, who was said to be famous in the village for her singing skills. Du Ju had no choice but to roll up his sleeves and give it his all. As a result, for the next few hours, Cheng Nuo was tortured by his heart-wrenching and running singing. It was not until 4 or 5 in the afternoon that Du Ju finally left the field in defeat. By that time, his voice was hoarse, he was half drunk and half awake, and looked miserable. Chapter 23, The First Night. However, there was still one thing that was taboo in her heart, and that was sleeping together tonight. At night, after seeing off the guests, in order to be fully prepared mentally, Cheng Nuo went to bed first, making sure his underwear was complete and his pajamas were conservative, and then he got into bed. Du Ju was harassed by several guests and finally pushed the door open very late. No, to be exact, he was pushed and kicked in by several of Cheng Nuo's cousins at the door. Du Ju staggered, but he did not forget to close the door and lock it. Seeing his actions, Cheng Nuo's hair stood on end. Why did you lock the door? Du Ju narrowed his drunken eyes and put his finger between his lips. Silly girl, if someone breaks in, wouldn't it ruin our good thing? Cheng Nuo was even more worried when he heard this. Hey, you, tell me clearly, what is going on between us? Hearing this, Du Ju simply took off his suit and threw it away, then jumped onto the bed. When Cheng Nuo was about to scream, he covered her mouth. Stupid. Of course you're going to sleep. Cheng Nuo's heart was in his throat. What was this guy doing? He openly violated the agreement. She shook her head in protest, and Du Ju said impatiently, hush, be quiet. I was drunk today and my head is heavy. I want to sleep, don't bother me. Cheng Nuo blinked and said, Don't bother me. Du Ju growled, then let go of her lips and really turned his back to her. With a rustling sound, Cheng Nuo appeared in the bed. Cheng Nuo wanted to scream again. She quietly moved to the edge of the bed and reached out to grope for her slippers on the ground. She thought that if this guy dared to do anything wrong, she would knock him out with her slippers. Unexpectedly, Du Ju became well behaved after getting into bed. Within 2 minutes, he began to snore softly. Cheng Nuo was speechless. This man really didn't treat her as a woman. Yes, they had worn the same pants for 2 hours, but now, was it so common for them to sleep in the same bed? When Du Ju gets close to her, Cheng Nuo breaks down. When Du Ju ignores her, she breaks down even more. After thinking about it, Cheng Nuo was still unbalanced. He stretched out his foot, carefully aimed at Du Ju's calf, and then kicked hard. Du Ju shuddered and opened his eyes. Continue drinking. Cheng Nuo rolled his eyes. Drinking hell, hey, are you still sober? I'm awake. Du Ju spoke incoherently and closed his eyes again. Cheng Nuo looked at him and thought that he must be really drunk, reeking of alcohol. Most of the guests today were coming for him. He was tossed around all night last night and all day today, so he must be very tired. Cheng Nuo wanted to kick Du Ju off the bed. This guy, is he sincere? It is better to act than to think. Cheng Nuo raised her foot for the second time, but before she could kick it down, a big hand suddenly appeared from the quilt, grabbed her calf accurately, and pressed her leg down again with a little force. At this point, Cheng Nuo was furious. Du Ju, you're finally exposed. She didn't believe that a drunk man could intercept a sneak attack so accurately in the dark. Du Ju didn't say anything, his big hand still tightly gripping Cheng Nuo's calf. Cheng Nuo struggled but failed to get free. The hand on her calf became hot due to the alcohol, and the heat spread to her leg. After a while, even her face seemed to be smoked red. Hey, let go of your dog's paw. Cheng Nuo kicked again. This time, Du Ju simply turned over and faced Cheng Nuo. As he loosened his big hand, he actually raised his bare legs and pressed them on Cheng Nuo's lower abdomen. Du Ju. If it weren't for the fact that his parents-in-law lived in the next room, Cheng Nuo would definitely roar like a lion. But now, this angry roar was forcibly lowered in volume and became completely unthreatening. Otherwise, why would Du Ju not reflect on himself and instead put his arm over and placed it right in front of Cheng Nuo's chest? Cheng Nuo couldn't bear it any longer and twisted left and right, but her arms and legs felt like steel, strangling her so much that she couldn't breathe smoothly. Mr. Du, you violated the agreement, right? You want to go to court with me, right? Hurry up and stop pretending to be dead. It was not easy for Cheng Nuo either. He had to control his voice while getting angry. The anger was stuck in his chest, and he felt indescribably depressed. Finally, Du Ju said, "Brother, I'm tired. Stop yelling and go to sleep. A night of love is worth 1,000 gold." This sentence again. Then can you take your claws and hooves away first? Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth, wishing he could take a bite of the two pig trotters on his body. Du Ju muttered something hesitantly, but unfortunately, Cheng Nuo didn't hear it clearly. Speak Chinese to me. Du Ju repeated unclearly, "Brother can't move. I feel sleepy, don't worry." Cheng Nuo's face flushed, but luckily he couldn't see clearly in the dark. Du Ju, you pervert. How dare you do this? I will destroy you. How can a woman speak so vulgarly? Du Ju said this in a clear and loud voice. Oh, what, are you curious? Wrong, it's contempt. In the darkness, Du Ju chuckled so softly that it was almost inaudible, and it was unclear whether the laughter sounded proud or self-deprecating. Chapter 24 Female Hooligan. You are stupid, I never dated Shuku back then. Cheng Nuo was a little confused, but she couldn't think of anyone else besides Shuku who would be the winner during the summer vacation when she was 14. Hey, which girl has this honor? Du Ju fell silent again, but he loosened his restraints on her, turned 180 degrees, and turned his back to her. Hello. The answer to Cheng Nuo turned into Du Ju's snoring, steady and long. Cheng Nuo stared at the dark ceiling. Did he really sleep this time? No, she aroused her curiosity, but she couldn't get an answer, and she was itching to death. What she couldn't see was that after Du Ju turned over, he opened his eyes, his face expressionless, without even a hint of a smile. In this way, Cheng Nuo and Du Ju slept peacefully that night. The next morning, Cheng Nuo was completely shocked by the scene after opening her eyes. What she cared about now was herself. Du Ju. You pervert, you get up now. Cheng Nuo was also in a daze last night. She could never have imagined that Du Ju would ride on her again at some point in the middle of the night. No, he would lie on top of her. Cheng Nuo's face had already turned red like a monkey's butt, but Du Ju slowly opened his sleepy eyes and muttered, "Well, it's so noisy, Nuo, let me sleep a little longer." As he spoke, Du Ju actually buried his face in Cheng Nuo's neck. Cheng Nuo gritted his teeth, struggled violently, pushed hard, and kicked hard. She didn't know which of her actions was the most crucial. Anyway, after this series of actions, Du Ju withdrew, and covered his crotch with a look of pain on his face. You deserve it. Take another look at Du Ju's skin. Damn, it's as delicate as a woman's. I guess he's taking advantage of the doctor's position and secretly taking medicine to replenish his skin. Cheng Nuo shuddered, thinking that he actually envied a man's appearance. His heart turned cold, and he kicked Du Ju's raised butt again. Hurry up and put on your clothes, you are ruining the view. Du Ju finally recovered from the pain and raised his voice. How can you be so vicious, woman? You. Du Ju, can you put on your clothes first before talking? Du Ju saw Cheng Nuo's blushing face, then lowered his head and grinned. Hey, Nuo, what's wrong? Why does your face look like it's been soaked in a dye vat? As he spoke, he stretched out his big hand and touched Cheng Nuo's face in a very sentimental way, and cried out, "It's hot." Nuo, what's wrong, are you shy? The more Du Ju spoke, the hotter Cheng Nuo's face became. Cheng Nuo gritted her teeth. She had known Du Ju for more than 20 years and they had quarreled many times. Backing down was not her style. She turned back suddenly and frowned. As Du Ju wailed, Cheng Nuo kicked the guy off the bed. Cheng Nuo, you are a hooligan. Du Ju accused pitifully. Cheng Nuo sat up on the bed and snorted. I don't even bother to play tricks on you. Put on your clothes. Du, no, are you awake? At the door, Cheng Nuo heard her mother's voice at the right time. Cheng Nuo then remembered that both parents were sleeping in the next room. She quickly picked up her clothes and was about to change out of her pajamas, but then she remembered that Duju was still beside her, so she glared at him again and lowered her voice. It's not embarrassing enough, get dressed. Duju got up from the floor with a grunt. Just as he pulled on his shirt, he heard his mother Do speak at the door. Dudu, there are still many things to do today. We have to rush back to City B in the afternoon. Dudu, stop hanging around Nuo and come out quickly. Tired. Cheng Nuo was speechless. Now, the quarrel between her and Duju in the early morning must be seen as a show by both parents. It's all Duju's fault. Thinking of this, Cheng Nuo was furious. He pulled Duju's pants and put them over his head while he was putting on his shirt. While covering his face, he pinched him hard. Hurry up. Duju was attacked from both sides, and he staggered and almost fell to the ground again. He finally managed to steady himself, pulled his pants off his head, and looked at Cheng Nuo almost collapsed. I say you, where can there be a woman like you? If you come again, I will sue you for sexual harassment. Seeing Duju acting like a young wife, Cheng Nuo couldn't help laughing. She turned her face away, and also turned away her secret joy. She rubbed her fingers imperceptibly, thinking about the feeling before. It was really interesting. Great, I found another way to bully Duju. The 13-day wedding finally ended. The Cheng and Du families chose to return to City B so quickly in order to let the young couple rest for a few days, because they both only took a half-month wedding leave. As for the honeymoon, on this point, Duju and his wife were in agreement, saying that they would wait until the annual leave, statutory holidays and other miscellaneous holidays were accumulated together to have more than a month before traveling. Chapter 25 Voice Actor. Both Cheng and Du's parents are open-minded people, and their children are very motivated. As long as the two of them have no disagreement about a small matter like a honeymoon, anything is fine. Having said that, the honeymoon can wait, but there is one thing that cannot wait. Mother Du knew that she was a little anxious, but she still couldn't help but hinted to Cheng Nuo on the plane through Mother Cheng. My daughter, you are 25 now. Women should have children sooner rather than later. It will help you recover faster and is good for your health. Although your mother-in-law didn't say this, you have to hurry up, okay? Before one wave subsides, another wave rises. Cheng Nuo was still thinking about how he and Duju would carry out their sexual intercourse in the next 2 months, and now they were planning to have a baby. When they returned to City B, it was already night. The group had a meal outside, and then Cheng Nuo naturally went straight to live in the Du family. Originally, Mother Du had bought an apartment for the two newlyweds in the same neighborhood where she lived, but the decoration had not been completed yet, so Cheng Nuo and Duju had no choice but to continue living in the Du family's original house. In fact, this was not a strange thing for Cheng Nuo, because her parents lived just across the corridor. And her usual clothes had already been moved over by Cheng's mother. Duju carried the suitcase and opened the door of the room with a big wedding character posted on it. He turned around and smiled at Cheng Nuo. Nuo, this is our new girlfriend. Cheng Nuo glared at him. Mother Du, who was following behind, said with a smile, you've been tired all day, Nuo, your room has its own toilet and bathroom, so you and Dudu should go take a shower and go to bed. Take a shower and go to bed. Cheng Nuo cried out in his heart, turned around, and smiled, I know, Mom. This kind of pretending can be done with practice. Mother Du returned to her room satisfied. After Cheng Nuo entered the room, Duju followed closely and locked the door. Cheng Nuo shuddered. She always had an indescribable strong reaction to his action. She was about to scold him, but she looked up and saw an antique on the wall. The corners of her mouth twitched and she completely broke down. Amid the bright red furnishings, this antique in this new house is particularly discordant and out of place. Brother Dudu. Duju had just put down his luggage. When he heard Cheng Nuo calling him, he got goosebumps all over his body and looked at her fearfully. Girl, can you please stop calling me like that? Let's talk it over slowly. Cheng Nuo pointed at the antique that was framed and nailed to the wall like a work of art, and asked, that, can you explain that to me? Duju glanced at him, then smiled harmlessly, you don't even remember that. That's the testimony of our love. Bar. Cheng Nuo, please be civilized. Cheng Nuo couldn't help it, who came up with this dirty trick? Why would you frame a pair of crotchless pants worn by a kid from 20 years ago and hang it on the wall? No. Duju straightened her shoulders seriously, those are not ordinary open crotch pants, they are the ones you lent me that year. Du Ju said something serious, but his eyes were full of smiles. Cheng Nuo knew that he was sincere, and she wanted to punch his jaw off. With Cheng Nuo's understanding of Du Ju, she was willing to bet that the underpants on the wall were definitely his masterpiece. You hung it there, didn't you? You left it there on purpose to disgust me, didn't you? Du Ju smiled but did not answer. He turned around and took out the things in the suitcase one by one and sorted them out. Hey, I'm asking you a question. Keep your voice down. The sound insulation in this house is not good. Cheng Nuo rolled her eyes at the underpants on the wall and decided to ignore them. After all, Du Ju had done more disgusting things than just this one. She was used to being disgusted by him. Give me the pajamas. I'm going to take a shower. Du Ju knew that Cheng Nuo accepted the non-mainstream style of hanging pants on the wall. He handed her silk pajamas and said, "There are new toiletries in the bathroom. Hey, how about we take a bath together?" Cheng Nuo picked up his pajamas and swung them at Du Ju. Of course, it didn't hurt at all because of the small weight. You're looking for death, you rascal Du. You'd better behave yourself and don't forget our agreement, the agreement. Du Ju dodged the attack from the pajamas left and right. How dare you bring up an agreement? Which woman was the one who acted like a hooligan to me again and again this morning? The agreement only says that you can't touch me, but it doesn't say that I can't do this or that to you. You? Du Ju was furious. Well, even Confucius said it, only Cheng Nuo and the villain were difficult to deal with. You are so cruel. Go take a shower quickly. I also need to use the bathroom. I am in a hurry. Stop. Cheng Nuo stopped Du Ju before he could utter the last obscene word. Please, Mr. Du, stop being so vulgar. Just like that, amid Du Ju's malicious laughter, Cheng Nuo went into the bathroom. 20 minutes later, Cheng Nuo came out refreshed and found Du Ju squatting at the door of the bathroom, holding his stomach. Seeing her coming out, Du Ju glanced at her casually, then held his stomach again and squeezed in from the side of Cheng Nuo. You're finally out. I was so anxious. If I waited another second, I'm afraid I would have collapsed on the spot. Hearing this, Cheng Nuo felt sick to his stomach. Inevitably, he was disgusted again. Before Du Ju came out, Cheng Nuo kept the same posture for most of the time. He sat in the room, beside the only big red wedding bed, in a daze. Another 20 minutes passed. Du Ju opened the bathroom door while wiping his hair and whistling. He saw Cheng Nuo in a daze and said with a smile, "What's wrong? Are you regretting not taking a bath with me? It's okay. Tonight is long. I don't mind taking another bath now." Cheng Nuo glared at him, picked up a big red pillow and threw it at him. Stop talking nonsense, I'm talking to you about serious matters. Business. Cheng Nuo patted the mattress. Let's sleep. Based on the previous experience, I will not sleep in the same bed with you for the next 2 months. Your abnormal sleeping posture is too bad. But there is only one bed in this room. Tell me, how are we going to sleep? Let me make it clear first, I will not sleep on the sofa, let alone on the floor. Du Ju looked around innocently. So you want me to? Before he finished speaking, Du Ju's face changed. He threw the dry hair towel in his hand and rushed over. Under Cheng Nuo's speechless gaze, he grabbed the bed leg and lowered his voice. What are you doing? Rock the bed. Shake. Do you think you are acting in The Hidden Cam? Cheng Nuo showed pity. This kid is too immersed in the role. Du Ju rolled his eyes at her in frustration, and said in a low voice, "Look at your understanding. I heard footsteps. Shush, my mother is eavesdropping at the door." Chapter 26, Crossing the Line. Du Ju spoke in a serious tone, and Cheng Nuo was full of doubts. She pricked up her ears, but couldn't tell who was standing at the door. "Du rascal, you're playing tricks on me again, aren't you?" As soon as he finished speaking, Du Ju pulled her off the bed and said through gritted teeth, almost close to her ear, "Do you dare to bet? I'll open the door for you to see. If my mother is at the door, we'll cancel the 100,000 yuan plus a house in the agreement." Cheng Nuo thought, she was not stupid, it was better to believe it. What if Mother Du was really waiting outside? Wouldn't she suffer a great loss? What's more, today his mother also talked about continuing the family line. Comprehensive analysis shows that Du Ju might not be acting alone. Feeling helpless, Cheng Nuo grabbed the other bed leg in annoyance. Du Ju tilted his head quietly, and couldn't help but grin. When he turned back, his face was serious. Shake it. Oh. Cheng Nuo was out of breath. This bed is quite heavy. It's quite difficult to rock it to make any sound. Cheng Nuo couldn't help but become suspicious again and lowered his voice. I say, can that thing in bed really make such a big noise? That must be very tiring. Du Ju originally wanted to say, you ask me, who should I ask? However, he thought about it and the words that were about to come out of his mouth became, it's terrible to be uneducated. I told you to use your strength and you did it. You have never seen the world and you don't listen to me. Hey, don't just focus on shaking, come on, hum a few times. Snort. Du Ju rolled his eyes at her impatiently. That's it, oh, hurry up. Cheng Nuo's face twitched wildly. You are kidding her, right? You must be kidding her. Hurry up. 100,000 yuan for a house. In the face of interests, Cheng Nuo compromised and said weakly, Oh. You're sleepwalking, shout louder, more heart-wrenchingly, hey, even if you haven't seen pork, you've seen pigs run, right? You've seen those on TV, right? Show some emotion. Du Ju was like a director, and at the end he muttered, if you shout like that, people will think I'm not good at that. Hamaro Cheng Nuo was so angry that he thought about adding additional terms to increase the compensation. Damn, who knew I would have to do physical work every night, plus play the role of a voice actor? After half an hour, Cheng Nuo was exhausted and thought it was more tiring than running 3,000 meters. Cheng Nuo sat down on the floor, thinking that the previous shower was in vain. She sweated a little and leaned against the bed to breathe. Du Ju, Auntie won't come to inspect every night, right? Du Ju shrugged, I don't know, my mother is very energetic. Cheng Nuo began to lose hope for the future. Doesn't that mean I have to shake it every day? For 2 months. Du Ju thought about it seriously, and then answered seriously, that's not the case. Oh. Cheng Nuo sat up straight, and life seemed to have regained some hope. We won't shake it during the days when you have your period. Cheng Nuo blinked, then threw a punch, just act like a hooligan. Du Ju jumped slightly and dodged her embroidered fist. Hey, why are you so angry? I'm just telling you the truth. Besides, you are talking about women's physiological laws in front of a doctor like me. What's there to be shy about? Cheng Nuo scolded lightly, luckily you didn't major in obstetrics and gynecology. Du Ju responded, don't mention it, I really want to. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's stop here today. You take a break and we'll continue tomorrow. Cheng Nuo looked up helplessly, counting the days, doesn't it mean I have to hold on for another half a month? Little did he know that this sentence revealed some personal privacy. Du Ju reacted quickly. His eyebrows jumped and he looked at Cheng Nuo with a lewd smile, half a month? So, these 2 days are your ovulation period, Nuo. Cheng Nuo's eyelids twitched wildly, wondering why Du Ju sounded so excited. It must be something bad. As expected, Du Ju moved his handsome face closer and said, hey, tell me, is this God's will? What is God's will? It is God's will that we should not waste the opportunity. When? Par. Du Ju patted Cheng Nuo's head lightly. You're just making fun of me. Of course, it's the right time for you to get pregnant. Du Ju, you're looking for death. Cheng Nuo glared at him, while Du Ju blinked and then waved his hand. Well, I'll equip you with a silicone belly. Go to sleep. With that, the guy lazily climbed onto the bed. Hey, didn't we agree that you are not allowed to go to bed tonight? Cheng Nuo said, grabbing Du Ju's ankle and pretending to pull him off. Du Ju kicked his legs, just for the sake of showing it, but he wasn't really using any strength. Who told you that? I'm sleepy. Come down, we haven't settled the score for last night yet, don't think you can take advantage of the fact that I'm asleep to do anything to me tonight. Du Ju pulled off his belt and swung it to the middle of the bed while taking off his pants. Hey, 38th parallel, that's it. The 38th parallel. Du Ju, I find that you are becoming more and more childish. In the end, Cheng Nuo compromised. The two of them lay on the same bed, separated by a belt, and it felt like they were back in elementary school. When they were in elementary school, Cheng Nuo and Du Ju were in the same class for 6 years, and they were deskmates for 4 years. It was only in the 5th and 6th grades that Cheng Nuo moved the naughty Du Ju to the back seat in order to take care of a nearsighted classmate. At that time, Cheng Nuo and Du Ju were able to sit together, which was naturally related to the requirements of Cheng and Du's parents. Du had already revealed his ruffian nature in elementary school and was always involved in fights. On the contrary, Cheng Nuo was the teacher's favorite child, so arranging Du to sit next to Cheng Nuo really made the teacher feel distressed for a while. Cheng Nuo was extremely humble and kind to other students, but when it came to Du, the two had an old grudge, and asking Cheng Nuo to smile gently at Du was not much better than asking for her life. At that time, the biggest disagreement between the two mainly came from 2 points: hair and seats. When Cheng Nuo was a child, he had long hair and tied it into 2 pigtails. Although his hair was sparse and a little yellow, Du, who couldn't afford to have long hair, was extremely curious all day long. He didn't pay attention in class anyway, and he would either tie Cheng Nuo's pigtails to his pen, or directly clamp the end of Cheng Nuo's hair with his pencil case. Cheng Nuo was very focused in class, but she was caught off guard. The pencil case made her scalp burn. During the break, Cheng Nuo would take revenge. At first, she would tell the teacher about it, but later she found that the teacher was helpless against Du, so she took revenge on her own. Chapter 27. This slap. Her methods were quite childish. She would stick a piece of chewing gum on Du's stool, hide his stool under another student's seat, and so on. In short, the fighting between the two of them would happen every day. Another source of contention is seat size. At that time, 2 people shared a table, and it was essential to draw a 38th parallel in the middle of the table with chalk. Sometimes when Cheng Nuo was doing her homework, her arm accidentally crossed the line, and Du would rudely push her arm back, causing Cheng Nuo to inevitably leave a long scratch on her homework book. Du. Out of line. Cheng Nuo hated it so much, but he had no way to refute it, so he could only wait for the opportunity. When Du's dark little arm crossed the line, Cheng Nuo would rudely take the tip of the pen and pierce it into Du's arm flesh. More than 10 years have passed, and even now, Cheng Nuo still finds it ridiculous when she thinks of the battle of wits and courage between her and Du at that time. Now, their 38th parallel has been separated between the two again, and she is actually in a playful mood, waiting for Du to foul with full energy. Du beside him was breathing steadily, and he must have fallen asleep. Just as he turned over subconsciously, Cheng Nuo used the faint light of the night lamp to accurately see that the little finger of Du's right hand had passed his waist. Cheng Nuo searched around excitedly and finally remembered a paper clip in her makeup bag. She knew that her bad taste had been violated, but she still took out the paper clip and without hesitation inserted the tip of the needle into the flesh of Du's little finger. Du shuddered and wailed as he retracted his hand. "Stop the bleeding." Cheng Nuo blinked, and then she realized that Du was probably dreaming about performing surgery on a patient. She suppressed her laughter, and kicked Du in the thigh with a small face. "Stop, you're crossing the line." "Huh? What?" Du still didn't understand the situation. Cheng Nuo shamelessly moved the belt towards Du, and then pushed his heavy body out of line. Du seemed to understand. He mumbled something and then turned over, lying on his side on the bed, precariously facing away. If he moved even a little, he might fall off the bed. But even so, Du was safe and sound and his breathing was steady again. Cheng Nuo looked at himself and saw that he had successfully occupied nearly 4/5 of the bed. He pushed the belt again and finally closed his eyes and fell asleep with satisfaction. Little did she know that Du, who had his back to her, was blinking his black eyes, blowing carefully on his little finger, and complaining silently, "Cheng Nuo, this cruel woman." The next day, Cheng Nuo found that Du was already awake. After she finished washing up and went to the living room, she saw Du's mother coming to greet her with a smile. "Mo Nuo, wake up. Did you sleep well last night?" Cheng Nuo was a little embarrassed. She knew what Mother Du really meant. She had rocked the bed so hard last night and for more than half an hour. Suddenly, she began to worry about another problem. Mother Du would not check their blood. But soon, Cheng Nuo ignored this stupid question. It was a different era now. The worst that could happen was that he could just say that he and Du had lost their virginity during their relationship. "I slept well, Mom." Putting aside those restricted topics, Cheng Nuo really didn't feel awkward living in the Du family. After all, they had known each other since childhood, and in the past 20 years, she had stayed overnight at the Du family quite a few times. When she was in junior high and high school, her parents often went out of town for business, and she would stay and eat at the Du family every now and then. Now it was like reliving the past. Mother Du also knew everything about Cheng Nuo. That's good. I was worried that you would get used to your bed now that you're older. But Dudu didn't seem to sleep well last night. He woke up early in the morning and went to buy breakfast. Look at his rat-like eyelids. There are dark circles under them. Rat eyes. Well, Duju does have single eyelids, but they are not small, and his eyelashes are quite long. Didn't he sleep well last night? Cheng Nuo asked this completely subconsciously, thinking that after he pricked his little finger, he had not bothered him again, so why should he suffer from insomnia? Mother Du smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. I think it's a good idea. Even if you want to have a child, you can't go too far. It's better to be moderate." Cheng Nuo was stunned for a moment, and then his face turned red. She understood. What Mrs. Du meant was that Duju had been thinking about sex the whole night, which was why he couldn't sleep because of longings. Collapse. When Duju came back from buying breakfast, he indeed had two panda eyes. As for the real reason, Cheng Nuo didn't know, but she thought it would definitely not be what Mother Du said. After Du's parents had breakfast, they went about their business. Cheng Nuo didn't want to stay at home with Duju staring at each other. If their parents knew about this, they might think that they were planning to have a baby even during the day. "I've made an appointment with Zhumaimai." Cheng Nuo said this, without any intention of inviting Duju to go with him. Duju yawned and said, "I'm going to catch up on my sleep." Cheng Nuo stared at his handsome face. "Didn't you sleep well last night?" Duju muttered something, but Cheng Nuo didn't hear it clearly. "What did you say?" Duju waved his hand and lazily returned to the bedroom. "Remember to lock the door when you leave." Cheng Nuo shrugged. How strange. Could it be that Duju is experiencing early pregnancy symptoms? Duju heard every word of that complaint, and he wanted to cry but couldn't. After all, he is a normal man. Zhumaimai was very excited that her friend became a married person, even if it was just a fake. Based on the conditions of your and Duju's families, there is no doubt that this wedding will be grand. Apart from other things, there must be a CD with the whole process recorded. Didn't you also say that even if this is a fake marriage, it has to be a complete fake? Cheng Nuo was never stingy with Zhumaimai, but that CD. The scene at Duju's house that night before their wedding was actually recorded in full, and it was edited and burned into a CD. I have also watched it. The tragic thing is that the French kiss between Duju and me during the bridal chamber was also recorded on the CD. Moreover, it was definitely taken at close range, and I could even hear the very sensational sound of saliva. Cheng Nuo didn't dare to show that scene to Zhumaimai. If for no other reason, it was because Zhumaimai had revealed to her that Duju and Zhumaimai had never kissed in more than 2 months of dating. Cheng Nuo felt guilty and was always afraid that someone would notice something, because the video showed a close-up of her face during the French kiss, and her expression seemed to be that she was enjoying it. The CD hasn't been produced yet. I really don't know. If you want to see it, I'll show you the wedding photos later. Cheng Nuo lied without blushing or beating her heart. She took a sip of the coffee in front of her, and then added disdainfully, "Actually, it's not that interesting. Just like you said, it's a fake marriage anyway. I even think Duju's smile in the photo is hypocritical." Chapter 28 Bathroom Storm. Zhumaimai pouted when she heard that. "I don't believe it. I believe you if you say he is vulgar, but as for hypocrisy, the woman Duju treats least hypocritically is you." Cheng Nuo believed, "After all, we grew up together, and this only proves that he doesn't treat me as a woman." Zhumaimai was amused. "That's a bit like that. When the disc arrives, remember to show it to me. Don't be afraid that I'll get jealous. I will never be obsessed with a man who doesn't love me. What's more, I asked you to help me because I was curious about how someone who was at the bottom of the poor class could jump to the top class in just 1 semester. Actually, I'm curious too. This is comprehension, right? Especially Duju's chemistry grades, which finally reached a point that even Cheng Nuo was jealous of, so Duju's study of medicine in college can be considered a specialty. Let's not talk about him anymore. I'll make an appointment with you again after I get the CD." Cheng Nuo just dealt with Zhumaimai perfunctorily, and even delayed it for several months. But what she didn't expect was that 3 days later, when she returned to work, Duju was playing the CD in the hospital. This is the first time Cheng Nuo has returned to the workplace after marriage. Cheng Nuo carried a large bag of wedding candies and distributed them in every office. When he got to Gao Ming's office, he was not there, so Cheng Nuo dropped 3 or 5 candies on his desk. Everyone who received the wedding candy naturally expressed congratulations and envy, except for one person, Zhang Yi. Seeing Cheng Nuo walking into the office of the research department with a bag of candy, Zhang Yi's face turned cold. He stood up from his seat, walked out without saying hello, and brushed past Cheng Nuo fiercely. Cheng Nuo had already thought about Zhang Yi's possible reactions, so Zhang Yi's expression before was expected by her. She still distributed wedding candies to the people in the research department office with a sweet smile. As for what the people in the office thought, she was too lazy to care, and she couldn't control it. All in all, this was the first day at the company, and it went smoothly. What Cheng Nuo didn't expect was that the real trouble would come after get off work. At that time, Cheng Nuo and Gao Ming left the office together. On their way downstairs, the two were still chatting about Cheng Nuo's marriage issues. Gao Ming asked this question seemingly casually, "You didn't get a marriage certificate, is that true?" Cheng Nuo smiled and nodded, "This is the final line of freedom." Gao Ming curved his lips to accompany her, "So, if you get a marriage certificate with someone other than Duju one day, it won't be considered bigamy, right?" The moment the words fell, the two stepped out of the office building, and before Cheng Nuo even had time to answer, he saw someone suddenly rushing past him. Bang! Cheng Nuo was caught off guard by this slap. Gao Ming frowned at that moment. "Miss, why do you hit someone so casually?" After Cheng Nuo saw who it was, she stopped Gao Ming from getting angry. It was rare that she could rub her face and greet the other person in a good manner. "Hey, who was it?" It turned out to be Xiaoqing. "Long time no see." Xiaoqing came rushing in, originally planning to fight to the death, but she found that Cheng Nuo was a coward, and her prepared accusations got stuck in her throat, losing strength. You are so shameless. Zhang Yi treated you so well, but you cheated on him and married someone else." Cheng Nuo understood. It turned out that Xiaoqing came to stand up for justice. She thought that the other party was blaming her for snatching Duju away. Alas, the girl was young and didn't even know the basic priorities. Since Xiaoqing mentioned Zhang Yi, there was no need for her to be shy and polite to the other party. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth, and Cheng Nuo snorted, "Cheating? You are talking about yourself." Xiaoqing was startled. "What do you mean?" Without saying a word, Cheng Nuo raised his hand and waved it to Xiaoqing's face, to the surprise of the two people around him. Bang! It was louder than the one she had received before, and more genuine. Xiaoqing covered her face and almost staggered. Why did you hit someone?" Cheng Nuo blew on his palm, and it was quite painful. "One slap is too cheap for you. First of all, I want to return the one I just received to you, because I didn't cheat. Before we got married, Zhang Yi and I had already broken up. After the breakup, no one can control whether I want to get married or have children. Originally, the other slap was for Duju. You know what you did to him, but this is after all your grudge with him. I think it's better to leave it to you to solve it. I'm too lazy to care. Gao Ming, let's go." Gao Ming, who had watched the whole show, nodded and followed Cheng Nuo. He was still thinking about whether he should comfort the woman in front of him, but he had no idea that Cheng Nuo was very happy. The rain has passed and the sky is clear. Xiaoqing and Zhang Yi regretted their decision so quickly. She wants to go back and terminate the agreement with Duju. Cheng Nuo had only taken a few steps away when unexpectedly, the girl Xiaoqing came running towards her again, stumbling in her high heels, and blocked her way. Cheng Nuo raised his eyebrows. "Why, didn't I make myself clear?" Xiaoqing was young after all, and after being casually exposed, she couldn't hold back. "I admit that Zhang Yi was my ex-boyfriend, don't be so proud." "Oh. This is a bit abrupt. Whether they are ex-boyfriend and girlfriend or not, what does it have to do with her being proud or not?" Cheng Nuo blinked and looked at Gao Ming in confusion, but Gao Ming obviously felt that this matter had nothing to do with him and looked away with a lack of interest. Helplessly, Cheng Nuo could only turn his gaze back to Xiaoqing. "Okay, I'm not proud of it. You should be proud of it. After all, you two were secretly doing it together and playing both sides." Xiaoqing was disdainful. "Now that things have come to this, why do you have to push all the responsibilities onto me and Zhang Yi? We are the ones who are stupid. Now I understand why you didn't let Zhang Yi touch her, and why Duju never kissed her. He even took the initiative to hold my hand a few times. Humph, it turns out that you two are a pair of dogs." Cheng Nuo ignored Xiao Qing's insults as if they were a gust of wind, but what she said about Du Ju made her feel confused for a while. Cheng Nuo recalled that the same thing happened when Du Ju and Zhuo Maimai were dating. Du Ju was like a pure-hearted scavenger. Cheng Nuo admitted that she was vulgar because she began to doubt Du Ju's sexual orientation. She could more or less understand why Du Ju could do that to her during the French kiss. It was because he didn't consider her as a member of the opposite sex or a woman at all. Hit. Cheng Nuo was still a little dazed until he got into Gao Ming's car. Gao Ming misunderstood. That girl was a little too hurtful with her words. Cheng Nuo nodded silently, and after a while, he slowly replied, "It's too much. Du Ju was really too much."